on statutory audit of bank branches, which is organized by the AASB, Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, and is hosted by the Pune branch of WRC of ICAI. I, CA Rishikesh Badwe, Treasurer of Pune branch, welcome all of you to this 2 days national conference. Let us rise for the motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you. We have participants from not only from Pune but from various parts of Maharashtra. We have participants from Nagar, we have participants from Akluz, we have participants from Satara and Sangli. I welcome all of you to this national conference. Let me begin with our first speaker of the conference. Whenever we think of bank audit or bank branch audit or any central statutory audit, one prominent name that comes to our mind is CA Prakash Kulkarni sir. Please welcome CA Prakash Kulkarni sir with a round of applause. I'll briefly introduce him. Being a Bachelor of Commerce and a chartered accountant, he has also passed the cost accountancy exam. He is also a CISA, that is Certified Information System Auditor from US, also a Certified Internal Auditor from the Institute of Internal Auditors, Florida, United States. He has also successfully qualified certificate course in the Forensic Audit and Fraud Detection of ICAI. Also, Internal Audit Studies course of the BCAS Mumbai. He is also insolvency professional and also registered with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board, New Delhi. We all know that Prakash Kulkarni sir is associated with GD Apte and Company, Chartered Accountants, as a manager from 1984 to 1988, and since then as a partner from 1st of April 1988 for last 35 years now. Areas of expertise include central statutory audit of public sector, urban cooperative sector, district cooperative banks, fraud and financial investigations, transaction review under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, internal audit of various listed public companies and private companies, information systems and security audits. He has also assisted law enforcement agencies in some of the forensic audit assignments handled by the firm. His other professional activities include participation as a faculty in various seminars and conferences conducted by the ICAI. He is also a member of the group of guidance note on audit of district cooperative banks issued by the ICAI. He is also the president of ISACA Pune chapter for the year 2004-2005. He is also faculty for review courses conducted by the ISACA Pune chapter and also participated in the meeting of chapter presidents of ISACA in Asia held at Bangkok. So with this brief introduction, I once again welcome CA Prakash Kulkarni sir to this national conference. I request CA Pranav Apte to kindly felicitate CA Prakash Kulkarni sir. Thank you. We all know that failing to plan is equivalent to planning to fail. So we have organized this first topic or first subject as planning of bank audit, which will be conducted by Prakash Kulkarni sir. He will also review or guide us through recent circulars by RBI. So I kindly hand over the charge to Prakash Kulkarni sir for his speech. Thank you.
Good morning, all professional colleagues. It is glad to meet in person all the members of the fraternity after gap of about 2 to 3 years. 2020 and 21, part of 22 also, we could not meet in person, and most of the activities, it may be audit or conference or seminar, even small meeting, it was held online. And the entire country, or rather world, passed through a very bad phase of COVID. And now we are almost out of that, so that we can meet in person and interact. Interaction in person is a very different thing rather than talking online, as most of us feel. I thank Institute for inviting me here for this session. The topic given to me is how to effectively plan bank audit. Effectively also is important. We should plan it effectively. And one part is recent circulars from RBI. So 2 topics have been given. We'll start with recent RBI circulars on bank audit. They can be divided in 2 categories. Circular applicable to commercial banks and urban cooperative banks. Earlier, these 2 departments were different in RBI, DBOD and UBD. Now these departments have been merged, but different circulars are issued by RBI for both categories of banks. Now during the current year, that is 22-23, RBI has issued only master circulars on various areas. There are a variety of circulars, including, say, credit card or so many things, but we are concentrating on circulars which are important to auditors from audit perspective. So these master circulars have been issued by RBI. The most important topic, auditorचा जिव्हाळ्याचा प्रश्न म्हणजे NPA, that is IRAC norms. So that master circular has been issued by RBI, which came into effect from 1st April 2022. Of course, there are not much changes, or rather no changes in the earlier provisions. Earlier circular was issued in 2021, October 2021, and we will discuss on that because in current circular, many changes have not taken place. Then bank finance to NBFCs, that also master circular has been issued, but that we will not discuss now because this is not focused on NBFC audit. Then guarantees and co-acceptances business of the banks, for that also master circular has been issued. And housing finance given by banks, on that topic also master circular is issued. Now master circular is also compilation of all other circulars issued. So it is very important for banks as well as auditors also, because it covers almost all the areas on which circulars have been earlier issued. Individual circulars have been issued by RBI, and this good practice has been started by RBI to consolidate all the provisions in one single circular. So auditors also are not requested to refer to individual circulars on that topic. Now coming to RBI's master circular on IRAC, as well as we'll refer to circular on LFAR, which was issued on 5th September 2020. And LFAR and audit structure was drastically changed by RBI as on that date. So this circular of 1st October 2021 made various changes in IRAC, rather than IRAC norms, various requirements of making accounts NPA. There were clarifications issued by RBI because certain matters were not clear. So these clarifications were issued as on in September 21 as well as in February 22. So these clarifications are also important. Subsequent master circular, as I told, it came into April 2022. And LFAR circular, as we discussed, is in September 20. Now, this master circular on IRAC norms, what are the important provisions? Deficiencies in SMA classification has to be reported, and this classification has to be done on day-to-day basis. Now, NPA classification also has to be done by banks on NPA on day-to-day basis. This is very different concept introduced and now made mandatory to all banks, including even small primary urban cooperative banks. Earlier, banks were declaring, when NPA concept was introduced in 1992, banks were classifying NPA as on only 31st March. Rest of the year, NPA was not recognized. Then it went into quarterly basis, when quarterly results are to be declared or quarterly NPA classification was done as on each quarter end. Subsequently, some of the banks shifted to monthly basis. So as on each month end, they started classifying the accounts as NPA. But this exercise was also done manually in most of the banks. But now RBI has insisted that this classification on NPAs as well as SMA accounts, that should be done automatically by the system. Whenever installments are overdue, that should be computed only by system and no manual intervention should be allowed. What is the purpose for this? Because it should not happen that some of the accounts are kept purposely out of NPA purview, even though they are NPA. This should not happen. So, system seamlessly should classify the NPAs as well as SMA accounts, special mention accounts through system. That requirement is mandatory, and auditors, statutory auditors of the branch are responsible to report this in the LFAR, whether this is happening through system or some manual intervention is possible. So apart from verifying the NPA statement, auditors have to see the system wherein any manual intervention is possible for NPA classification. Then important provision is to verify and confirm that all the clauses in agreements and documents, they are filled in properly. This is important requirement imposed on statutory auditors. So whatever accounts auditors are verifying by selecting the test check, they have to certify that documents are in order. And RBI wants to cover all the accounts in this space. Wherever new facilities have been sanctioned by the banks after during the year, the auditors have to certify them, and whatever renewals are taking place, for them also auditors have to certify. Suppose a cash credit account is renewed, whether those documents are completely filled in, no blanks have been kept, that is required to be certified by the auditors. So this is again important responsibility given to auditors. So in turn, maybe after 5 years, banks will take a certificate from auditors that for all the borrower accounts, documents have been filled and they are not kept blank. So another important requirement upon auditors is that master data of advances, which is fed into the computer, that is correctly done. Because NPA classification will be depending upon the master data. The date of commencement of installment, suppose moratorium is given. What is the date of commencement of installment? What is the amount of installment? That has to be manually fed in the computer, whether that is done properly. There may be accelerated installments. First 3 years amount may be small, it may be increased after 3 years gradually. So whether that information is properly fed into the computer or not, that auditors have to check and they have to certify, so that NPA classification done by the system also will be accurate. Otherwise, NPA classification may go wrong. So this is regarding RBI's master circular on LFAR as well as IRAC norms. We will not discuss about requirements of IRAC, how it is to be done. That will be handled in a separate session. Now, these are some of the important circulars issued by RBI, though they have not been issued during the current year. Some of them may be even 5 years back, but these are very important for the purpose of statutory audit of banks. So, members should be, I suggest members should read these circulars. They must have read, but they should read these circulars. Information about this has also been given in the guidance note published by the institute. The recent guidance note has been published 2 days back. Now, when we come to urban cooperative banks, many of the members are doing audit of urban cooperative banks in Pune at various district places. So they have to keep abreast of whatever are the different provisions as compared to commercial banks in urban cooperative banks. On these two circulars again have been issued, master circulars by RBI. First again is regarding IRAC norms, which is published as on 1st April 22, which covers all the provisions of IRAC norms. And second circular regarding housing finance, which is sanctioned by UCBs. Urban cooperative banks also are sanctioning housing finance, home loan finance on a massive scale. So for that, RBI has come out with a master circular. Of course, provisions are almost on the same lines as applicable to scheduled commercial banks. This is one of the important press release. It is not a circular, it is a press release, and many of the members may not have seen because it is not widely published. All the circulars are available on website and various platforms like chartered accountants. For chartered accountants, some of have started website like Clear Tax, etc. These circulars are available, but this press release is missed in many of the cases. This press release was issued in the year 2018. Though it is old, I thought better to bring to the notice of our notice and information of our members. This talks about enforcement action framework in respect of statutory auditors for lapses in statutory audit of commercial banks. It is applicable to commercial banks, but it specifically talks about lapses done during the audit. So responsibility, RBI wants to fix responsibility upon the auditors for various lapses done by auditors while conducting the audit. And a main out of that is divergence in NPAs. That is viewed very seriously by Reserve Bank of India. And actions are initiated against the auditors. You must have read in newspaper, some of the firms, top firms have been debarred also from conducting audit of banks as well as NBFCs. So auditors have to keep this in mind, and RBI also had made it public that such action may be taken. So auditor has to take due professional care while conducting audit of any financial institution and ensure that extant regulations of the RBI has been properly followed, and NPA is a very sensitive area. Earlier, RBI was just inquiring with the auditors about a particular account. I remember in 2002-03, when we were doing audit of a subsidiary of State Bank of India, I used to receive calls from Reserve Bank why this account has been not treated as NPA. It was only discussion on telephone. That inquiry was made. But subsequently, during last 10 years, RBI is conducting meeting with statutory auditors, central statutory auditors of public sector banks, private sector banks, and now also urban cooperative banks. So if one of the members have done audit of urban cooperative bank, and RBI feels that something needs to be discussed, some diversion is noticed by RBI, they will call them for the meeting. And such meeting earlier, through 3 years back, used to take place on annual basis. But in case of large cooperative banks, such meetings are held on quarterly basis. So what is RBI's view at how we have conducted audit and what are our silent observations? So इथं काय घाबरवायचं नाही ऑडिटर्स ना, बट ऑडिटर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आय वुड लाईक टू ब्रिंग टू युअर इन्फॉर्मेशन ऑडिटर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इन क्लासिफिकेशन अँड सर्टिफिकेशन NPA, which is very important. So with this, we'll go to our another and main topic, how to effectively plan bank branch audit. We are restricted to branch audit only. There are variety of areas which are covered in the audit of central office, and all of you members who are doing audit of either urban cooperative banks or private banks or even nationalized banks at central office level, they will be aware of what needs to be done. But that we will not discuss here. So we will concentrate on bank branch audit. Now RBI in revised LFAR, which was introduced in September 2020, has given the objectives of bank branch audit. They have defined the objectives of central office audit for central statutory auditors very elaborately, as well as objectives of branch audit has been defined. And when we are doing audit of any branch, it is very essential to understand this objective. What is expected from auditors of a branch? The overall objective of the branch audit should be to have transaction testing. That is very important. Otherwise, normally auditors may not be asked how much transactions you have verified, whether you have carried transaction audit. Many of the auditors in large corporations, they are not doing transaction verification at all. They rely on the internal control system of that particular entity, maybe company, manufacturing company, or service sector company. But here, focus is given on transaction testing and provide inputs to statutory central auditors. So to whom branch auditors are reporting, they are also submitting their report to the bank, but they are mainly responsible for statutory central auditors. And they have to comment on adequacy of implementation of various policy and regulatory framework requirements, including efficacy of system and assurance functions like risk management, compliance, internal audit. So everything is covered here. So almost RBI says that statutory auditor of the branch who visits the branch maybe for 6 days, 8 days maximum, he is responsible for everything. Risk management in that branch, how it is done, that is a different question, as well as compliance function in the branch, whether they are submitting all the returns, and internal audit conducted in the branch. So the scope of audit has been enlarged by leaps and bounds by putting this clause in the LFAR. Now, when we are doing audit of a branch, all of you know what are the deliverables, and details of them have been given in the closing circular, which is issued by most of the banks, including public sector banks and large cooperative banks. So understanding these deliverables are important. The members who are doing audit, say maybe for first time or initially years, they have to get acquainted with all these responsibilities. We are also doing audit of other entities like say company or partnership firm, tax audit, GST audit, but there the number of deliverables is very small. In case of tax audit of a partnership firm, we have to certify the balance sheet and submit a tax audit report along with its schedules or annexure. These are the two deliverables. And third is audit report. But in case of banks, number of deliverables are very large. If we count the number of certificates to be issued, that number crosses 100, because at least 25 to 50 certificates are required to be given or certified by the statutory auditor of a branch. So what are the deliverables? First is balance sheet and statement of profit and loss. These are the two important financial statements which are to be certified by the auditors. Here cash flow statement is not certified, even though it may be applicable to the bank. It is not prepared at the branch level. That is very important. And along with that, various schedules or annexure which are enclosed to the balance sheet, they are required to be certified. Now, one important aspect in this is that this is not a public document. Whenever we are certifying, say, balance sheet of a private limited company, same balance sheet will be filed with ROC. And same balance sheet will be filed with Income Tax Department, GST Department. So that goes to the regulatory authorities. But balance sheet of the branch is not a document which goes to regulatory authorities, because it will be consolidated in the balance sheet of the bank. Because of this, we will find that many items are not applicable at the branch level, like share capital, reserves, etc., and that will not form part of balance sheet of the branch. Memorandum of changes, that is a typical concept in the banking industry. The balance sheet which is prepared at the branch, suppose the auditors find any errors in that, they are not corrected in the balance sheet itself for the administrative reasons and technical reasons. There is no other purpose for that. A separate schedule is given which changes are suggested by auditors, and that is covered through memorandum of changes. It is very important part on the for auditors to prepare this. Independent auditors report, which is submitted to central statutory auditors. It is not given for the public. So branch auditors will report to central auditors. Then long form audit report, which is a very important document and many times neglected also. Why I say it is neglected? Because when we as a central auditor see reports of branch auditors, in case of large bank, we have to go through at least reports of 400, 500 auditors in the zonal offices. So sometimes they are not properly prepared. So we have to, our tool in the any audit is our audit report, because we are not going to change the balance sheet. Suppose even we insist that balance sheet should be changed in this fashion, this particular policy should be adopted, not adopted, etc. This particular accounting standard should be adopted, not adopted. But client may not agree. So whatever things we have to put in our independent auditor's report and detailed report which is submitted to management. Long form audit report is a report to the management as well as the Reserve Bank of India. Then tax audit report we need not discuss. Certification of closing returns. Some of the closing returns of the bank which are then consolidated at head office level, they are certified by statutory auditors, and various certificates are required to be issued as we discussed. And there is a long list of certificates which are required to be certified, and it takes time also to verify and include details in these certificates. Say Ghosh and Jilani committee, which was prepared for internal control purpose, which is introduced about some 25 years back, and that is not revised also. It is essential to revise these certificates or reports, because a lot of changes have taken place in computerization, and these certificates were prepared when banks were partially computerized. Then other variety of certificates are required to be given. We will not discuss, I think a separate session on certification may be also taken. But this is very important part. And the main difference between balance sheet certification and certificate is that in balance sheet, we are certifying true and fair view of the financial statements. And in certificate, we are required to certify whether it is correct or not. So we have to be specifically accurate. And there are various errors taking place in these certificates also, especially certificates on DICGC claims or interest subvention on agriculture and other advances. We find when we are consolidating the data at the central office level, various errors take place in such certificates submitted by branch auditors. Then we go to the respective branch auditors and take the revised certificates. So care should be taken by the auditors while certifying these items. Now coming to planning the audit of financial statements. This is applicable to all entities, and even if we are conducting audit of a private limited company, either small or large, private limited company having turnover of say 2 crores or even 200 crores or 500 crores, this planning is applicable. So what is the difference in a banking industry? That as we discussed just now, in banking industry, we have to submit lot of other reports and certifications to the Reserve Bank of India, that is regulators, as well as central office and central auditors. So for that purpose, this planning is important. And again, time given to the auditors is that way limited. We start audit, many times it is not started in last week of March. If it is started, we get more time. But because appointments are delayed, audit is started in say first week of April, and we have to complete our work maybe by 10th or maximum 15th of April. So for that purpose, planning, proper planning, effective planning, and its effective execution. Planning is not the end. Once we have planned, it has to be effectively executed also at the branch level. So there are 3 activities given in the essay. Preliminary engagement activities. Second is overall audit strategy that has to be decided, and then audit plan is to be prepared. There is a difference between audit strategy and audit plan. Strategy is always at a higher level. In case of say company board decide the strategy and plan is decided by operative management. Like that, there is a difference in strategy and plan, which is elaborately explained in the essay. So preliminary engagement activities we did not discuss. All of us we are aware, and they are carried out in all the engagements, not only in bank audit. That is letter of appointment, acceptance, communication with previous auditors. In case of banks, always previous auditors are different because branches are rotated. And engagement letter to be given as per this essay. Now it happens that in many of the banks, they are not accepting engagement letter from the auditors. They say that we will not take this responsibility. So, and we get phone calls from various professional colleague friends, what we should do. If they are not accepting the letter, or they will deny to sign that engagement letter. It has to be signed by the auditor as well as the bank manager. So they will deny. So we will ask them to actually accept it and keep it on their record, and keep the acknowledgement on our record. So that can be done. It happens sometimes that they are even denying to accept it and acknowledge it. So I have suggested the friends to send it by speed post and keep the record with us, if you want to truly comply with the requirements of standards on auditing. Establishing understanding of the terms of engagement, that is also important. In complex assignment, it is more important. But statutory audit goes as per a particular pattern, and we have to understand the terms of engagement, what are our responsibilities, and that we have shown in the deliverables. What are our deliverables as per that terms of engagement. Now, this is very important part, compliance with ICAI Code of Ethics, which was revised in 2019 and made effective from 1st April 2020. Institute in India, our institute as well as institutes overseas also, they are giving very much importance to professional ethics. Institute has made mandatory that all the members should attend professional ethics sessions at least once in a year for 2 hours. That is required for the, even for the purpose of our renewal of our certificate of practice. And this is a international practice again. That is a technical requirement or legal requirement, but members should be aware what they are expected under professional ethics. The section 110.1, initial section itself gives the requirement of professional ethics, like integrity, objectivity, professional competence, which is very much important. Professional competence is very important, and how we get it, how we get the professional knowledge, we have to read the relevant materials, guidance notes, regulatory requirements, circulars, etc. And we have to keep abreast of the regulatory requirements in case of banks. Due care professionals have to take in conducting any assignment. Confidentiality of the papers and information obtained from the bank, that is very important. There are cases where some of the information is leaked. How we do not know, but it is leaked and it is sensitive. If you are doing audit of a medium or large branch, you get the information about the particular borrower, which may be a listed company. And we have been approached by competitors of such listed company to give the information about that particular company. Because we come to know what machinery is used. If they have been given term loan, which machinery has been acquired by them. These details are accessible or verified by the auditors. So for getting such information, we were approached by competitors of that company to share this information. Of course, we denied. So keeping confidentiality of our working papers is very important, and they should not be kept permanently on the laptops of our junior teams. They should be kept only with the server in the office or laptop of senior members, partners, and proprietors. Professional behavior, that is also important. We'll not discuss in detail all the topics because we'll go to planning part. But compliance with this code of ethics, which is prescribed by the institute, which is very important. In case of independence, it will happen that auditor should ensure that he is independent and there is no related person in the either KMP of that branch, or if he is auditing cooperative bank in that bank, he should not accept such assignment. Audit strategy we have discussed, we will not go into that much. Now, this is very important part, understanding the bank and the branch, which is very important. And SA 310, it elaborates about knowledge of the business. Whenever we are doing any assignment, professional assignment, maybe audit or assurance or any other consulting assignment also, we should have sufficient knowledge of that business so that we can carry out that assignment effectively. So banking business, all of us, we are aware, and since we are dealing with banks either as a depositor or as a borrower also, we are aware about that. But still we have to understand intricacies and all the modern trends which are taking place in the banking industry, we should be abreast of. Basic function of banks was acceptance of deposits from public and lending, lending fund-based and non-fund-based lending. Then forex and derivative business also is started in, because as you know, our economy is growing and imports are getting reduced and we are giving thrust on exports. So because of this, forex and derivative business also has increased in banks, and many of you must have done or will be doing audit of forex branches of the public sector banks. Even medium scale cooperative banks are now going into forex business whenever license is issued to them. So members should be well versed and conversant with the forex business. Corporate wholesale banking, that is the type of banking, MSME, retail banking, agriculture banking. So these are the types of loans given by the banks. Treasury operations, if you are doing audit of a cooperative bank, you have to handle treasury operations, that is investments made by the bank, that needs to be audited. Large banks are giving variety of financial services now. In the guidance note, at least 15 types of services, financial services, which are rendered by the bank, they have been enlisted. And your branch also may be doing some of the services like opening of demat account, insurance services, etc. A variety of them. They are offering mutual fund products, selling mutual fund products, etc. Now, last is the IFSC banking units, IBUs. They are opened in this gift city of Ahmedabad. So as if they are the foreign branches of the bank, these IBOs have been opened, and some of you may get the opportunity to do audit at these IBOs also. I have enlisted some of the things, all of them could not be included, but there are a variety of new businesses undertaken by the banks. An auditor, when he doing audit of such branch, he should be aware of them. Now next is constitution of the bank. That is very important because legal framework applicable to the bank will decide many of the aspects. As you know, public sector banks called as nationalized banks, they were nationalized in 1969 and 1980 later on. They are covered under a different act. They are not covered under the Companies Act. Private sector banks, which are mostly or almost incorporated under Companies Act, so that act is applicable. Foreign banks, act of that particular country is applicable to them. Urban cooperative banks, for which state cooperative acts of the respective states are applicable. Regional rural banks have been started by nationalized banks in rural areas in the country. Now payment banks, we are making payment from our mobile, which is managed by payment banks, that is a different category. And small finance banks have been started, which are giving small scale finance and accepting deposits. So these are categories of banks, and we should be, we have to study the particular act which is applicable to the respective banks. Now, understanding legal requirements is also important. Auditor हा चतुरस्थ असावाच लागतो. त्यामुळे he should know Banking Regulation Act, State Cooperative Act, which is applicable to the particular urban cooperative bank. मी कर्नाटकात किंवा जवळ कुठं गुजरातमध्ये जाऊन काही ऑडिट करत असाल तर त्या ॲक्टची तुम्हाला माहिती पाहिजे. Companies Act, because it is applicable to private sector banks if you are doing the audit, but it is not applicable to nationalized banks. SEBI LODR requirements, listing requirements. If it is a nationalized bank, almost all the nationalized banks have been listed on stock exchanges, and for which SEBI requirements are applicable. Negotiable Instrument Act, which is a very important. If you are doing concurrent audit of a bank, you should be very well versed with Negotiable Instrument Act. People talk about only Banking Regulation Act, but that is at a global level, and only few provisions are important. But in Negotiable Instrument Act, nowadays issuance of check has been reduced because of online payment. But this act is very important. Securitization Act, SURFACE, which is very important, under which bank takes the possession of the securities in case of NPA accounts. So we should know the provisions. If such cases are handled by the branch, we should be aware of the provisions of this act. Foreign Exchange Management Act, if the branch is handling foreign exchange business, what are the peculiar provisions? That is very important in case of deposits as well as forex advances. Accounting standards notified under the Companies Act, as well as accounting standards of the ICA, because nationalized banks Companies Act will not be applicable, but accounting standards of the institute will be mandatory. Then directives, circular notifications issued by RBI and NABARD. In case of agriculture, NABARD also issues various circulars, which because it is the regulatory authority. And for all other purposes, for nationalized banks as well as urban cooperative banks, Reserve Bank will issue the circulars. We have talked about them. And last is accounting policy recognized by the banks. So if your branch is, you want to know accounting policy, suppose locker rent, how it should be accounted, it will be stated in the accounting policy. And that should be seen by the auditor. Now, while understanding business of the branch, size of the branch is very important. And many of you will audit branches of all the sizes. There are very large corporate or industrial finance branches in metro cities like say Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, etc. And many of these branches have size of advances. I am talking about advances because our mere focus and more efforts are given in the verification of advances portfolio. So their size may be 10,000 crore plus. Some of the branches are having size of 50,000 crore plus also. So these are very large branches. And when the particular firm is appointed to carry out audit of such branches, they should be well versed with all corporate account and wholesale banking products. Then there are main branches in large cities with size of say 3,000 to 5,000 crores, and many of your members in district places may be handling such branches. Other size will come down according to the city location of the branch. It may be 500 to 1,000 crores. In case of other cities, maybe 100 to 200 crores, and most of our members are doing audit of such branches having size of 100 to 500 crores. Semi-urban branches, 50 to 100 crores. The peculiarity is that number of accounts will be very large in semi-urban branches. And rural branches, size of say 10 to 25, or even very small branches, 1 to 5 crores. Of course, they are not under statutory audit at present. They may not be selected. But yes, we should be aware of how business takes place at such small branches also. And our team size and the competency of our team will depend upon the size of branch. If you are doing audit of a semi-urban branch, nationalized bank or other bank, there will be a number of agriculture advances sanctioned at such branch, and our team members also should be aware of how these agriculture advances are sanctioned, disbursed, monitored, recovered, and how income is recovered on these agriculture advances. Now coming to type of advances, we discuss about that. Corporate branches, very large branches, they will sanction corporate accounts, and they will be sanctioned either in consortium or multiple banking arrangement. That is, various banks are sanctioning differently rather than coming together. And I have seen some of the borrowers where even 20 or 25 banks have come into consortium and sanctioned such advances. So monitoring such advances is a very difficult part, corporate accounts, since number of banks are involved. International finance, that is forex business, that is also handled. MSME, आपला महत्वाचा part आहे MSME advances, and all of us must be well versed how MSME advances are handled. There is a separate session tomorrow on these MSME advances. Rural branches which are sanctioning priority sector as well as agriculture finance. I was fortunate to audit these rural branches because I have done the audit of a district central cooperative bank for some years, and these branches were very small in remote area and giving advances only to agriculture sector and small personal finances. So I could get the opportunity to audit these agriculture advances. Personal finance, as you know, we are taking finance for home and other purposes, retail finance, vehicles, etc. That will come under personal finance. And government business, some of the public sector undertakings and companies, they are also sanctioned advances by the banks. So these are the types of advances, and depending upon the type of the branch we are covering under the audit during the particular year, we should be able to conduct this. So we should understand various products which are covered under these different banks. There are types of other types of branches also. Stress asset branch, that is whenever asset is likely to become NPA, it is transferred to such branch. Or once account is turned into NPA, it is transferred to such stress asset or branches, and most of the nationalized banks have opened such branches in metro and other large cities. So if you are doing audit of such branch, you should be very much well versed with the provisions of restructuring of advances and how they are restructured and how they are brought under monitoring. Asset recovery branch, whenever it is put only for recovery, it will be transferred to asset recovery branch. Service branch handles the function of check passing, etc. Services they are given, and many of you must be doing concurrent audit of such service branches. They are also subject to statutory audit. Overseas branches, many of the nationalized banks have branches overseas, including IBU, which we talked about. So we should be knowing what are the functions of these branches. Now, while planning the audit, we have to get after understanding the nature of business handled by the branch, we have to go into deep and study the particular advances of type of business handled in that particular branch, for which we have to study the previous financial year's reports, etc. First is financial statements and closing returns of the earlier year. That should be reviewed. and also what are the MOCs given, extent of MOCs given. If the number of entries in MOC is large, that means bank had made errors in preparing the balance sheet. So that we have to keep in mind, and accordingly we have to plan our audit. So study of financial statements of earlier year is very important, 1 or 2 years, and how it is used in our analytical study, that we'll discuss later on. LFAR and tax audit report of earlier year. So we get inputs from earlier year LFAR as well as earlier year's tax audit report, which were the disallowances which were included in the tax audit report. So we have to make sure that if such items are existing in current year, we are properly reporting that. And for current year, we have to see the variety of documents like internal audit or internal inspection report of the branch. Now most of the nationalized banks have adopted risk-based internal audit system. Even it is made mandatory to large cooperative banks, large and medium urban cooperative banks. So we should go through this risk-based internal audit report. We should understand this concept also, how it is different from our normal inspection report. Then internal branch risk rating. Whenever RBI is introduced, risk-based internal audit is introduced in the branch, rating is given to that branch. And we should study the rating for say last 5 years, and whether it has remained the same, whether it has improved or deteriorated. If it is deteriorated, marks have come down, which are the areas due to which rating has come down, and we have to focus on those particular areas for the purpose of our statutory audit. Then there are variety of reports, and all of you are aware about this concurrent audit. If the branch is under concurrent audit, we have to go through the reports and whatever the negative features pointed out by the concurrent auditors, which we can focus in our audit. Credit audit reports in case of borrowers may be above 5 crores or 10 crores. RBI inspection report, if the branch is of medium size, RBI may have inspected that, and their comments we have to consider. Then stock audit report, we are doing stock audit, and salient features of that audit we have to go through. Then forensic audit report of borrower accounts. If some of the borrowers of the bank, they are subjected to fraud investigation, then and if such report is available, we have to consider that, because we have to decide whether fraud has been, we have to see whether fraud has been declared and whether that account should be made a NPA or not. That needs to be decided. Then IT audit and cyber security audit of the bank, that report also will be available. And as a statutory auditors, we are required to comment in LFAR on some of the aspects of internal control in our LFAR. So we have to see this report and also conduct some of the tests to verify whether the internal controls are existing. We talked about LFAR. LFAR, we have to comment that NPA classification and marking of NPA is done automatically by the system. So we have to verify that manual intervention is not possible in this. It is our responsibility. Understanding core banking system of the bank, that is very important, because most of our audit is centered around this CBS system. And auditors should be well versed, not only should have some knowledge about the system of the banks, but they should be well versed. That will not come in the first year of audit, but yes, only few packages have been used by nationalized banks, like Finacle banks, which is used of TCS, used by 1 or 2 banks, and FlexCube, which is used only by Canara Bank in nationalized bank sector, and private banks like HDFC banks. In case of cooperative banks also, most of the banks use packages of say limited companies, limited number of companies like Jalgaon Janta, Infotech, etc. There are only few vendors which are servicing CBS or providing CBS services to the banks. And we should be well aware about the features available in these particular packages. Now, as we come to CBS, what is the main use of CBS to us is that data integrity will be maintained. Of course, that will be covered in the audit of the computers. And second part is number of reports will be available to the auditors. During passage of times, all the banks have developed a variety of reports which are very useful to the statutory auditors. They are also required for the bank management for monitoring purpose, but we can make use of these reports, and there is a facility to transfer these reports to MS Excel, so we can analyze these reports also. I have included some of the reports. It is not an exhaustive list. It is only a small list, but all of you are aware on our WhatsApp group or other groups, commands in Finacle as well as reports available in Finacle, this information is circulated and which is available to the members. Turnover in working capital account, drawing power, whether it is exceeded or not, that will be automatically available to us through this report. Earlier, whenever books were manual or wherever this report was not available, we have to manually work out whether drawing power was exceeded in a particular cash credit account. So we have to scrutinize the cash credit account and find out. We have to put an junior assistant to just plot the dates. Drawing power is set 10 lakhs in the account and actual balance is 10 lakh 50,000. So drawing power is exceeded. This exercise was literally done manually by us during past days, but now this report is available for complete year. So we can take this report in MS Excel. This facility is also available and find out exceptional cases. The drawing power which is exceeded, which is more than 10% or 20%. Such cases we can highlight, discuss with the manager and include in our LFR if required. So we will not discuss each and every report out of this. As I said, variety of reports are available. These may be only 15, but at least 50 to 75 reports are available from CBS, which are useful to the statutory as well as concurrent auditors. Now, next and very important part is analytical procedures at the branch. In good old days, we have to, as I said, we have to verify the documents in the bank agreements, etc. We used to verify and read those agreements. And even in case of interest, balance sheet, profit and loss, etc., all the topics, we were doing the work manually. But since almost all the banks, not almost, all the banks, even a small cooperative bank or Patapedi, they also have computerized accounts. So we can get this data in MS Excel and do a lot of analytical procedures, and they have been mandated in our standards on auditing also. First is SA 520, analytical procedures, SA 320, materiality in planning and performing an audit. That is also very important essay. And third is audit sampling, SA 530. Now, audit sampling is also very important. We'll discuss about that. First is SA 520 analytical procedure. So what are the objectives of this analytical procedure? While conducting a statutory audit, we should obtain relevant and reliable audit evidence by using substantive analytical procedures. So audit evidence also is important essay, and that evidence we can create by taking entire data, entire population and conducting analytical procedures, how we will see later on, to perform substantive analytical procedures in respect of areas of large value or large volume of transactions. If you are doing audit of a retail branch and there are, say, 700 vehicle loans sanctioned in that particular branch, manually we can verify details in each and every account. So we can take this data in MS Excel and do lot of analytical procedure, including identification of NPAs in this. Third is analytical procedure near end of audit period. So what are the variances coming in the end of the audit period? If we take the trial balance of the branch as on, say, 15th of March, 25th of March, 31st of March, and if we are visiting in April, 6th of April, and if we can do the comparative analysis, you can sometimes get various trends, divergence trends in this. We will see that part in an Excel sheet later on. Then what is the purpose? We'll rush through this. Evaluation of financial information through analysis of relationship against financial and non-financial data. So we have to see relationship between two numbers. That is the analytical procedure. That is a very important part. I think most of you are doing this. You are well versed with Excel and doing major part of your audit through Excel. You are already doing that. Investigating fluctuations which are significantly inconsistent with the expected values. We have taken assets of so and so value, so our depreciation should be this much amount. If it is very high or it is divergent, high or low, we can recalculate the depreciation and find out what is the reason of divergent trend. Trend analysis, that is comparison of data of two periods. We'll discuss about this. Ratio analysis, which is mandatory in all the even in our private limited companies balance sheet. We have to now put ratio analysis in our notes. And reasonableness test, whether that particular amount is reasonable or not. These tests also can be carried out. Our saving bank deposits are say 10 crores. Then the interest on that cannot be 2 crores in the, that rate goes to 20%. Saving bank interest rate hovers around 5%, this side or that side. So that interest should be reasonable considering the total size of the deposits. So all these tests should be carried out by the auditors in analytical procedures. Now comparative analysis, this is very important tool. Comparative analysis of balance sheet and statement and profit and loss of 31st March of current year and previous year. It will give you a variety of information once this analysis is carried out. If you are starting the audit on 25th March, you can take balance sheet of February and carry out this analysis, or you can carry out analysis on trial balance also. You can take trial balance of various dates in the year and carry out this comparative analysis. As well, you can study the key financial indicators at the 4 quarter ends or even month end if you have got time. This analysis can be done. Similarly, NPAs, non-performing assets, and special mention account, SMA 012, these accounts, these are identified on day-to-day basis. Bank is supposed to identify on day-to-day basis. We can take at least month-end data of these NPAs as well as SMAs and carry out analytical procedures on them. We can carry out analytical procedures for 31st March of current year and previous year as we discussed for balance sheet. This is the balance sheet of the bank, and as we discussed, figures of 2 years, numbers of 2 years are we can compare. This is 31st March 23 and March 22. Variance amount, it has been worked out for each item of published balance sheet, that is these 5 heads, and variance percentage. So we can concentrate, we can decide our materiality level that any change after say about 10% we should investigate or we should verify in detail. So we can decide this percentage. It can be different for different items. Deposits it can be different. It can be different for advances. It can be different for other items. So this percentage can be worked out, and we can deeply verify or go through what are the reasons for this variance. These reasons we can call from branch management also, because day-to-day they are handling these numbers. So we can prepare this sheet, share with the branch management that we are doing, and ask them to put their reasons first. And sometimes or many times these reasons are also genuine. So we can verify the underlying documents. If the deposit of the branch has increased from say fixed deposit from 200 crore to 300 crore, what is the reason? There may be a corporate deposit which has been received during the period, because of which jump may have taken place. So we can verify that actually such deposit has been received by the bank, and we can keep that evidence on our record and close that query. We can also, this exercise is also carried out for all the schedules, individual items of the balance sheet as well as profit and loss account. So there are various individual items in the balance sheet. For each schedule is prepared, like say deposits, advances. In deposits, saving bank deposit, term deposits, there will be variety of term deposits. So for each item, many of the figures are blank also. So for each item we can calculate such variance and concentrate on important variance which we feel above threshold limit, either less than 10% or more than 10%, 15%, whatever it is. Similarly, for profit and loss account, we can carry out this exercise. This is profit and loss account, and there are divergent trends which I have marked in color. So we have to inquire why these divergent trends had taken place. This is just an example. So in all the items of expenditure as well as income, there is a divergent trend. So we can inquire, again we can go to granular level. In case of interest income, which is the advance for which interest income has increased, that we can identify in schedules. So in schedules, we will get item-wise details for this income as well as expenditure, interest, expenditure, salary. For each thing, we will get item-wise. So this comparative analysis is a very important tool, and this must be carried out by every auditor, and it is a responsibility also because we have to comment as per essay whether we have carried out such procedure or not. Now we were talking about key financial indicators. So we can select based on the business of the branch key indicators and carry out this analysis either for every month or at least quarter end. I have just given an example. So in case of current deposits, there is a wide trend in increasing current deposits. Of course, bank can get a depositor he can put money in the current account and withdraw it also. It can happen that the balance will go during the particular day. In case of certain companies, like say infra companies, they receive the amount once in a month. They raise a bill, one bill for one project, receive that amount and incur the expenditure. So in such cases, either in CC or current account balance will vary. But we have to find out the reason why such abnormal variations have taken place, say in case of current deposits. Similarly, in cash credit also I have shown that there is a divergent trend. Increases, there are ups and downs. So we can verify, and there can be chances of window dressing in this. So we have put balance in current account and cash credit is shown as withdrawn. Some of the banks were doing this on the quarter end or year end date, 31st December. There is a specific question in LFAR which we have to address, whether any window dressing of the balance sheet has been done by the branch. We have to verify that and report. For this, such trend analysis will be useful. In case of NPA also, we have shown that as on September, NPAs were 62. That has increased to 82 as on December. Same trend was there as on February. But March, NPAs have come down. In such case, we should carry out comparative analysis account-wise of NPAs as on 31st December and 31st March. We have to find out accounts which were NPAs on 31st December and now not appearing in the list. And we can verify those accounts, why they have been upgraded into standard accounts, whether that reason is genuine, whether it is upgraded because of genuine recovery or some other reason, and we can complete our professional responsibility. Now, we are talking about that data of NPA as well as SMA accounts. It is available to on day-to-day basis. So it is comparing for 365 days in the year. It will be very time-taking exercise, not required also. But for the month, say each month end, we can take this data in MS Excel and analyze that. This analysis we can do for the entire branch, all the accounts in the branch, or select account at least. If the number of accounts are very large, we can do this for select accounts above a particular limit, threshold limit, that is say 1 lakh or so. I've given this example. Now, in case of first, all these accounts were in SMA 0. So they have been classified and the dues were outstanding up to 30 days. Installment was not paid in time and outstanding up to 30 days during all the months. In subsequent, thoda scroll kara khali. In subsequent example, that in subsequent examples, those accounts have turned into from SMA 0 to SMA 1, SMA 1 to SMA 2. And some of the accounts may have turned into NPA also. So we can concentrate on these accounts. Those accounts are constantly under one category. That means repayment is taken place. But those accounts which are going from one category to another category, coming back to again original category, we have to verify that these movements are proper and the account is not turning into NPA. So we can carry out detailed, extensive analytical procedure on these NPAs as well as SMA accounts, because that is our responsibility to certify that NPAs have been properly classified. For paucity of time, I wanted to discuss more about this analytical procedure with actual example, but paucity of time does not permit. So this is regarding analytical procedures. Yeah, materiality. This is also a very important part because branch will be having number of accounts. Some of the branches, large number of accounts, even though branch is medium scale. So we have to decide the level of materiality, and for this also this essay is important, essay 320. Materiality levels for errors in, say, identification of NPA. Though this exercise is automated nowadays, we have to decide materiality, that each account above a particular level, we have to confirm that NPA is properly identified and properly classified. Classification is substandard, doubtful, 1, 2, 3, and loss assets. Whether this classification is also proper. We have to decide the level of materiality. Similarly, amount of provision for NPA, which in case of doubtful accounts, it will depend upon the value of security. So if there are, say, 100 housing accounts which have turned NPA during in the branch, then we have to decide up to how we should verify the security value in all these accounts, because security value may have changed. Similarly, interest on advances and interest on deposits. We have to decide the materiality level, which errors we should point out, errors we should not point out. Expense provision also, we have to decide a materiality level. If small mistake of 50 rupees has taken place, and if it is not impacting profit of the branch, we may not include in our MOC and may not correct the balance sheet. Then we have to also decide transaction level materiality in case of standard advances above a threshold, because we have to verify standard advances and ensure that they are also not NPA. So we have to decide how much accounts, how many accounts we have to verify. It will also depend upon the type of the advances. MSME, yes, that advance may be from say 1 crore to 10, 15 crore also, because companies of 250 crores are also coming under MSME nowadays. Similarly, SMA advances above a threshold, advances referred to NCLT, we have to decide. In such case, we have to decide the materiality, and if there are few number of cases, we have to verify them 100%. Red flagged advances, quick mortality advances, we have to give our comments in LFAR. So we have to decide if the number of cases are more, then we have to decide the materiality. Similarly, advances under investigation or inquiries wherever taking place, this materiality is important. Audit sampling, we were talking about. Whether sampling is important or sampling will die. Because we can verify population 100% in some cases, like NPA classification, which has taken place due to number of installments outstanding beyond 90 days. This data we can verify in Excel 100%. Earlier, when records were manual, we have to select some cases only. If there are, say, 100 vehicle accounts in the branch, we have to select manually some accounts and verify this, whether it has NPA or not. Now, all these 100 accounts data we can take in MS Excel, analyze and identify whether each and every account which is NPA, which is properly classified or not. But yes, sampling needs to be done. In all areas, we cannot do 100% audit, or it is not required also. Like KYC or deposit account opening form, we have to select some cases. We may select a small sample, 5 accounts, 10 accounts, and verify such cases. So to that extent, sampling is important. Selection of sample, this is also very important part. Of course, it may be done in LFAR also. As per this revised LFAR, in case of the branch which we are auditing, outstanding amount of fund-based and non-fund-based advances we have to calculate. Earlier it was only fund-based advances. Now non-fund-based advances, that is LC, etc., they are also considered. And when whatever accounts are having balance of 10% of these total advances, we have to verify such advances 100%. So limit is either 10 crore or 10%, whichever is less. So if our branch is having advances of 200 crores outstanding, that 10% comes to 20 crore. So all accounts about 10 crore, we have to verify 100% and give our comments. Rest of the accounts, we can apply test check, for which again sampling technique is essential. Now these accounts below threshold, we have to, how we should verify, that is also given in LFAR. We will not discuss much about that, it will be covered in LFAR. But these are some of the features which we should keep in mind while selecting our sample. If these features are persisting in these accounts, we should give more thrust on such cases, like advances sanctioned at branch level. Whichever is sanctioned at regional office level, it is handled by branch, regional office, zonal office 2 or 3 tiers. But in case of branch, it is handled only by officer and branch manager. So we should give thrust on such cases. Ad hoc limits or TOD sanctioned frequently, we have to consider on such accounts. So these are various negative features, some of which we have already discussed, and such cases should be given more thrust while selecting our sample, and rest of the cases we should select a smaller sample. Now, while selecting the sample, we again have to divide the advances in 2 categories, MSME and other related industry and trade-related advances, because their amount may not be similar. It may be 1 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore also, in case of MSME advances, trade advances, etc. So sampling technique may be different. And in case of variety of retail advances, amount will be from, say, small amount. If the cap of, say, on housing loans is 50 lakhs for a particular branch or particular bank, urban cooperative banks, all the accounts will be less than 50 lakhs. In case of vehicle, it may be from, say, 1 lakh for two-wheeler up to 10 lakh for vehicle, four-wheeler. So in such case, amount will be small and the number of accounts will be very large. So accordingly, we have to select our sample. There are variety of advances. In case of fixed deposits or gold loan also, we have to select some sample, even though number of accounts are very large. So such classification is important while selecting the sample. Verification of interest application. Earlier, we have to spend lot of time on interest application, which when it was manual or partially manual. Now, interest application is almost automated in all the banks, including cooperative banks, and this is handled centrally by the IT team, and it is carried out at the year end or near the year end or quarter end in case of all the banks. So what is the auditor's duty? Whenever it is done through system, it may be verified, the program logic, etc. will be verified by the system auditors and certified. So branch has to verify only the interest which is done manually, like penal interest, etc. This part needs to be verified. There are a variety of reasons for which penal interest is applied by the bank. Some of it is computer done through system also, like penal interest on overdrawn accounts. It is done through system, but for some of the items it is done manually. So whenever it is done manually, it should be verified by the auditors. Similarly, preference rate of interest, if it is applied, given to some of the depositors, it should be verified with the sanction. Documentation, audit documentation is very important part. All this part which we are doing, it has to be properly preserved, which will be part of our audit documentation, and it will be used as audit evidence also. Suppose we get the query why a particular account was not classified as NPA in the branch, we should refer to our audit documentation, and we should be able to convince that this was the reason why it was not classified as NPA. A lot of material is available to the auditors, including guidance note, which is very detailed. Technical guide on revised LFAR, we should go through that. On internal financial controls also, guideline has been issued by institute. And number of presentations in ICI conferences and seminars are available. For this conference also, material will be available to you, which members can study. So with this, I'll come to end of my session. This was my first slide, and you must have noticed this picture, which was very important for us while doing the audit in maybe 20 years back or 25 years back. We were carrying either pencils or color pens, green or red pen for the purpose of audit. But this is the past now. We have to go with our laptop, take the data in MS Excel. Part of this work can be done in our office also by some back office team in case of large branches. But most of the audit we can do. I can say that 50%, 70% of the bank audit we can do through MS Excel, and instead of taking a small sample, we can do the audit on 100% of the population and give a better comfort to the bank management as well as central statutory auditors. Thank you. We'll take questions later on because of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kulkarni sir, for covering all the aspects of audit planning as well as various RBI circulars which have been issued. I thank CA Prakash Kulkarni sir for accepting our invitation and delivering his wonderful lecture. The speakers of the next inaugural session are already here. I hand over the charge to my colleague, CA Pritesh Munot, for further course. Thank you.
Good morning and warm welcome to everyone. I am CA Pritesh Munot, Management Committee member of the Pune branch. I welcome you all for the 2 days National Conference on Statutory Audit of Bank branches. This session is the inaugural session, which includes one of the topic, introductory framework from the regulator point of view, and that topic particular which will be covered by our chief guest, Mr. Sri Satish Marathe sir. Now, without wasting much time, I would like to call upon the stage our Treasurer of Pune branch, CA Rishikesh Badwe, Secretary of Pune branch, CA Ajinkya Randive, Vice Chairperson of Pune branch, CA Amruta Kulkarni, the Chairperson of Pune branch, CA Rajesh Agarwal, our Central Council member, CA Chandrasekhar Chitre sir, today's guest of honor, CA Ranjan Kumar Sharma, Additional Commissioner of Police, East Region, Pune, and our chief guest, Sri Satish Marathe sir, Director, Central Board of Reserve Bank of India. Please give a big round of applause to all of them. Along with all, I also would like to recognize the presence of our management committee members, CA Sachin Minyar, Vikasa Chairperson, and CA Pranav Apte. Also, our next session faculty, CA Nachiket Dev sir, is also here. like every other auspicious occasion, let's start this event by offering our prayers to God. And for that, I would like to call Rishikesh Badwe.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहारं धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Rishikesh. Now we'll be heading towards the lighting of the lamp ceremony. I request all the dignitaries, please proceed for the lighting of lamp ceremony. Thank you, everyone. To brief about this today's conference, now I would like to call upon the dais our chairman of Pune branch, CA Rajesh Agarwal.
Warm welcome and very good morning to one you all. I, CA Rajesh Agarwal, Chairman Pune branch, delighted to welcome you all for the 2 days national conference on bank branch audit organized by ASB and hosted by Pune branch. On behalf of Pune branch, I welcome today's guest, Sri Mr. Satish Marathe sir, and Chief Guest of Honor, CA Ranjit Sharma sir. I would like to thank you both for accepting our invitation and joining this August gathering. I would like to thank Chairman, Vice Chairman of the ASB and our own CCM, C.V. Chitre sir, all regional council members, my managing committee members giving me this opportunity. This would not have been possible without the guidance and support of these all. This is very, from our side, we have tried our best to structure this well. During these 2 days, all the participants, you will get full insights about the bank branch audit from the expert in the field, including panel discussions. I assure you that if we could concentrate 100%, dedicate our time, you will get 200% in these 2 days. I wish you all happy learning. Thank you.
Thank you, CA Rajesh Agarwal. Now, I would like to call our Central Council member, CA Chandrasekhar Chitare sir.
Good morning. Chairman of Pune branch, chief guest of this particular conference, Ranjan Sharma sir and Satish Marathe sir, my team members on dais in Managing Committee of Pune branch, in audience, the speakers and all of you members. It's indeed a pleasure to have a dialogue with you on this occasion of two-day seminar on bank branch audit. In this particular seminar, we have specifically invested these two dignitaries, Ranjan Kumar Sharma and Satish Marathe sir, because they also have expertise in this particular field. Ranjan Kumar Sharma is also a chartered accountant. Last year when I was heading Direct Taxation Committee, my vice chairman was CA Dr. Raj Chawla, and Ranjan Kumar Sharma was working with him. So last year also we had acquainted with him. We took interview and that was published by CMIB. So today it's indeed a pleasure, sir, to have you amongst us in this particular gathering. As it is known that there are certain banks which are also tainted with frauds, there are also some misappropriation of funds and the things come to the police department. And then the forensic audit is initiated for the purpose of knowing what is the reason and who are the persons who are responsible for this particular state of affairs. And with this background, I would request, sir, that if we can have some presentation from police department to our chartered accountants relating to what are expectations in this particular arena, and also they can empanel for the purpose of this doing forensic audit. I think it would be mutually beneficial run that those who are interested in doing this particular investigation, they would be really happy to join. You also might be aware that our institute is running course for forensic audit, and recently last year we also have come out with standards on forensic audit where we are perhaps first in the world. So those books also we will share with you so that we can, and our managing committee will have one meeting with you so that we can chart the way forward. Of course, we don't expect that the fraud should increase. So if the work is on a lower side, doesn't matter. But at least wherever it is necessary, I think we should be in a position to render those services. As far as banking sector is concerned, friends, you must have seen that the Shamra Vitthal Cooperative Bank had to release an advertisement that we are not bank from USA, we are bank from India. And the credit goes to the RBI and its robust regulation mechanism that we find such incidences very little, and wherever it happens, maybe the depositor's money is not on a run. RBI takes cautious steps so that it is weighted to some other bank, and really the depositors are left unscratched. As far as Reserve Bank of India is concerned, they are having policies, robust policies, maybe the nationalized bank, maybe private sector bank, cooperative bank. And the bank branch audit is initiated at the instance of RBI. There is no law which says that there should be bank branch audit, but RBI initiates it. In the recent past, there has been change in thought process of RBI, and maybe branches under audit are getting reduced. But there, on behalf of institute, we are making representation that as far as banking sector is concerned, if it is left unaudited, then maybe the chances of the audit or the frauds getting detected would get delayed. And therefore, this coverage should increase. In fact, 2 years ago, I had been to the residence of Marathe sir along with Abhay Mate and then PDC chairman for the purpose of revision in audit fees. And we were very happy with the positive approach which we had from Marathe sir. And this year now, whatever efforts we were making for past few years have been fructified. There has been increase in the fees for bank branch audit. But again, we are going to have dialogue with the concerned officials in RBI. While we were discussing with Marathe sir, he also has pointed out that there is one different segment from these nationalized banks and others, and that is urban cooperative banks or the cooperative banking sector, where there are 1,500 players in this sector. And the regulatory mechanism is also with the RBI, and there are certain different rules which are applicable to these UCBs. So if we have a dialogue with the auditors of such cooperative banks and come out with whatever difficulties they are facing, the banks are facing, and have dialogue with the RBI, maybe in resolution, the irritants of stakeholders that can be achieved, at the instance of RBI. And sir, I assure you that in coming week there is council meeting, so we'll certainly deliberate on this issue, and the professional development committee which looks after this particular aspect would definitely come and have dialogue with the concerned officials of the RBI. Friends, as far as this bank branch audit is concerned, in earlier session, Prakash has already stated that gone are the days you have to use this blue pencil or whatever, blue tick, green tick, but now it is the technology. So based on technology, one would be able to do the audit in a more satisfactory manner. As far as the advent of audit is concerned, earlier while in education we used to learn that there is a test check method and that is scientifically approved method. But now gone are the days where people are expecting test check. Now 100% verification is expected, whether the number of documents is 1,000 or 10 lakhs, no matter, it should be 100%. And if that is the stakeholder expectation, such 100% verification can be done only with the help of audit tools and not with human intervention. Even you take tax audit, where you have to report 48.3 expenditure exceeding certain limit, otherwise then account pay check. I think if the 10 lakh transaction are there, 1 lakh transaction are there, it is humanly impossible. But if you run the audit tool, maybe within 5-10 minutes you get the exact answer. So Institute is in dialogue for these audit tools, and soon we will be coming out with those audit tools for the benefit of the profession. Even in case of Schedule 3 and the non-corporate entities, if you feed in the trial balance or the trial balance is picked up from any software that you are using, then that particular software converts it into, if it is company Schedule 3 compliant, either Ind AS compliant or MCA accounting standards compliant, depending upon listed or otherwise. And in case of non-corporate entities, that software comes out with the accounting standards compliant financial statements. We are also in dialogue with this particular software provider, which is provided by one of the chartered accountants only. So more and more we have to rely on tools. We will have dialogue on this particular aspect. Today we are eager to listen the chief guest and guest of honor on the topic of this of interest for this particular audience. On some other occasion, we can have detailed discussion on this. Thank you for joining this course.
Thank you, CA Chandrasekhar Chitre sir. Moving further, it is my pleasure to introduce our today's guest of honor, CA Ranjan Kumar Sharma, Additional Commissioner of Police, East Region, Pune. He is IPS from batch 2006. He is also a chartered accountant, and he holds the degree of police management, and currently he is pursuing LLB. He has started his career in May 2008 as an assistant superintendent of police, and now he is an additional commissioner of police. He has been awarded various awards. He has received award for the best implementation of CCTNS and ICJS project in India by Union Home Minister in 2020. Received appreciation from Chief Minister of Maharashtra for implementation of Operation Muskan, search and recovery missing children while working as a DCP crime in 2016. Received appreciation from Home Minister of Maharashtra for best performance in disposal of citizens' complaint in 2012 when he was a SP of Yavatmal district. Received appreciation for 4 years from Director General of Police, Maharashtra State, for excellent handling of law and order situation in Ganpati and other festivals. Awarded as a CA Distinguished Contributor in Civil Services in 11th ICAI Award Ceremony at Nehru Center, Mumbai. Lexicon Bharat Leadership Award for Leadership by Lexicon Group of Institute, Pune. So I welcome our today's guest of honor, CA Ranjan Kumar Sharma, and request him to address the audience.
Respected guest on the dais and my dear friends. It is always a great pleasure for me to come to my alumni and interact with all our CA friends. Friends, today I will not talk much because I have another meeting immediately. As you are aware that all the festival seasons of complicated nature, which have communal flavors and other law and order flavors, like Ramzan Eid, Ambedkar Jayanti, Ram Navami, and all are coming. So I have an important meeting for that. But whatever I have gone through, after passing the exam in 2002 and working in police department for almost 16 years since 2006. And just recently I was posted in CID as DIG Economic Offences Wing. So whatever I have learned, whatever I have experienced, whatever I have seen, that now the trend is coming that many CAs are held responsible for the failure of some cooperative banks or other banks, failure of some financial companies, and many times they have been arrested by either the police or either the ED or some other agencies. So whenever I was working in CID for 2 years, what I have seen very closely, that many times our audit report doesn't reflect the correct status of affairs of the companies. So we are in a dilemma as the enforcement agency that now what to do. Whether we should hold the CA responsible because has been entrusted the work of statutory auditor as well as internal auditor, and many times as the forensic auditor also. Though forensic auditor is a new discipline, but the expectation is very high. Because once the investors are cheated by the board of directors or the employees of the companies, then they have also grudge against the auditors, because they feel that auditor is there for the safeguarding their interest. And once their interest has not been safeguarded, so why not auditor should also be held responsible for the fraud? So many times they come with the FIR that board of directors is responsible for this and auditors is also responsible for this part. So you should register FIR on both board of directors, employees of the companies and the auditors of the company. So at that time we have no choice, because you may be surprised that in some cases which I have handled in CID, the number of investors who were cheated were in lakhs. So once there is a mob of 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 investor in front of a police station, and you are resisting that, no, we should not register the FIR against the auditor, then it will create a very big law and order problem. So FIR is registered, and after that when we go for the investigation, then we find that in the audit report there is nothing mentioned about the fraud or anything which is leading to the financial problems. So at that time, the agencies have the dilemma again, then what to do? Whether we should just send the negligence report to the ICI or whether we should make the auditor also accused in this case. So many times what happens, the knowledge of our investigating officer is not very sufficient for the financial frauds. So they don't want any complication, they don't want any allegation, and they file the charge sheet against the auditors also. So it leads to further complication, and the reputation of the auditor is hampered, the reputation of the profession is also getting a bad name. So my urge to all of you that whenever you are doing the audit work, you should mention something about the fraud. Because when I was taught in the CA Institute when I was doing the course, that auditor is not a bloodhound, but he is a watchdog. It is our famous quote, right? But watchdog's definition has not been given very clearly, very precisely in any of the books. So it has been left up to the judgment, up to the case, that what are the works of a watchdog. So my request to you that you should interpret the word watchdog in a liberal manner, and you should put something in your report which can safeguard you in the later complications. Because in policing, we have to be successful in 100% cases, but in auditing work, if you are caught in one case, You may be scot-free in 99 cases, but you may be caught in one case, and that will ruin your career. That will damage the reputation of your firm as well as the CA profession and CA institute also. Because once a CA is arrested for some offense, then the general public image is that thus all CA are corrupt. This type of, like, in the same way, you may be thinking that when some police officer is or police constable is caught for the corrupt practices, then the general feeling that all policemen are corrupt. So in the same way, if one chartered accountant is arrested, then the public faith and public feeling is that all the chartered accountants are corrupt and they are not doing their work which is required by the law. So my request will be that you should follow all the guidelines, but it should reflect in your audit report, because that is the report which will save you or ruin your career. Because if we find that there is something written in the audit report regarding the fraud, regarding the financial irregularities, then certainly that investigating officer will help you, and you can also come with that, yes, see, we have already indicated these things in our audit report, and at least, I don't now in the touch of the guidelines, but at least if you can write one line that these things have some irregularities, it prima facie seems that there is some irregularities, and more forensic audit is required in this particular case or particular issue. That will also protect you in the court. Otherwise, you may be held liable that you have not indicated anything, you have not written anything about the financial irregularities. So how can you be a genuine auditor? And this kind of things are coming in the day-to-day basis, and many of the CA friends are in trouble for that. So these are my observations. Next time, as suggested by our friend, that next time I will tell you that what are the fields where you can do the forensic audit, what are the manner or methods to be registered as the forensic auditor, because in Maharashtra only 37 to 38 firms have been registered as forensic auditor, which is a very small figure. So many new firms can be impaneled there, and the impanelment process I will just check, because it is impaneled in the Home Department of Government of Maharashtra. So I have to check the process also, that what a process and what formalities are there. So all these things next time whenever we will meet, that certainly I will discuss. Thank you very much for calling me in this program, and if you have any problem, then you can always message me. My number you can please note. It is a very simple number, 8888 310000. So it is a simple to remember also. And if anything, please send me WhatsApp messages, because I may not pick up the call many times, but messages I always check half an hour, 1 hour. So if you have any problem regarding policing work in Pune city, then certainly message me, and I will try to help you as much as possible. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, CA Ranjan Kumar Sharma sir, ACP, and thanks for giving the very easy access to you, and we'll surely troubles you whenever required. Now, as he's a busy schedule, we'll have a felicitation of him. So I request CA Rajesh Agarwal, Chairman of Pune branch, and Chandrasekhar Chitre sir, Central Council member, to felicitate Ranjan Kumar Sharma. Now I would like to introduce our today's chief guest, Sri Satish Marathe sir. Born on February 1st, 1950, he holds a bachelor degree in commerce and law, also a diploma in journalism. Satish Marathe sir has started his banking career in the Bank of India and rose to be the chairman and CEO of the United Western Bank Limited from 2002 to 2006. Earlier in September 1991, he was CEO of Jan Kalyan Sahakari Bank Limited. Also, presently, Satish Marathe sir holds the position Director, Central Board, Reserve Bank of India, Director at NTL Housing Bank, member of Government of India appointed expert committee to study on relevance, applicability and retention of three-tier short-term cooperative credit structure, independent director at Indian Institute of Insolvency Professionals of ICAI. He is a trustee of Pragati Pratishthan, which is residential school for the dumb and mute tribal children at Jawar district, Palghar. He is also working as a president for Siddharth Vidyalay, Kalyan. In the past, Satish Marathe sir was member of board management, National Cooperative Development Corporation, Honorable Secretary of Indian Banks Association, Vice President of Private Sector Banks Association, member of High Power Committee constituted by Government of Maharashtra in respect of weak and Sikh urban cooperative banks. To our chief guest. Now I would like to request our chief guest Sri Satish Marathe sir to have a word with the audience, and also he is going to speak on the topic introductory framework from the regulator's point of view. Please welcome sir.
Distinguished office bearers of the Pune branch of the Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants, friends, at the very outset I thank the Pune branch for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my views on this very important topic. I have been a banker for over 40 years. I have been dealing with auditors and Reserve Bank also from time to time. But the view that you get from the other side after being on the board of the Central Bank of the Reserve Bank, and incidentally I am also the member of the Board of Financial Supervision, which overlooks all regulated entities in the country. That gives a very different background and a different hindsight. Many a times it has been felt both by the bankers and the auditors alike that Reserve Bank is becoming difficult. I know it is, and I agree with that view. मित्रांनो, आपण जवळजवळ सगळ्यांना मराठी येत आहे, त्याच्यामुळे इंग्लिशमध्येच बोललं पाहिजे असं नाही. इंग्लिशमध्ये ऑब्व्हियसली अनेक त्याच्यातले शब्द ते येत राहतील, पण पोस्ट 2008 फायनान्शियल मेल्टडाऊन आणि त्याच्यानंतर जगभरात आणि भारतात विशेष करून रिझर्व्ह बँकेत इंटरनली खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती हा फायनान्शियल मेल्टडाऊन का झाला, त्याचा इम्पॅक्ट काय होता आणि तो कसा आपल्याला अशा प्रकारच्या याच्यातनं वाचवता येईल याच्यावरती खूप चर्चा, खूप रिपोर्ट झाले. बरेच आपण रिपोर्ट त्यातले बघितले असतील, वाचले असतील, त्याची माहिती मिळालेली असेल. आणि या सगळ्या याच्यानंतर 7-8 वर्षा प्रक्रिया चालली. ही काही थोडकी नव्हती की वर्षा 2 वर्षात त्याचा सगळा इम्पॅक्ट आला, कळला आणि आपण त्याच्यावरती ॲक्शन घेतली. आणि साधारण 3 वर्षापूर्वी रिझर्व्ह बँकेने आफ्टर व्हेरी लॉंग डिटेल्ड डेलिब्रेशन्स, इंटरनल असेसमेंट, स्टडी, रेग्युलेशन आणि सुपरविजन डिपार्टमेंटची मर्ज केली. हे आपल्याला सर्वांना माहीत असेल. मद्रासच्या सेंट्रल बोर्डाच्या मीटिंगमध्ये हा निर्णय घेण्यात आला आणि नाव रेग्युलेशन अँड सुपरविजन कम अंडर कॉमन हेड. ऑफकोर्स ॲडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव्हली ते काम बघण्याकरता 2 स्वतंत्र DG आहेत, EDs आहेत, पण नाव दे वर्क हँड इन हँड. आणि या सगळ्या गोष्टीकडे बघत असताना सुपरविजन आणि रेग्युलेशन आर द 2 साइड्स ऑफ द सेम कॉइन. हे बेसिक प्रिन्सिपल ॲक्सेप्ट केलं गेलं आपल्याकडे. ह्या सगळ्या फायनान्शियल क्रायसिसच्या काळामध्ये, कारण आपल्याकडे वेगवेगळे क्रायसिस येऊन गेले, खूप जण त्यातले विसरले देखील. आपल्याकडे साऊथ एशियन क्रायसिस येऊन गेला, वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे 4-5 मोठे क्रायसिस या ह्याच्यात येऊन गेले आणि आपल्याकडचे फायनान्शियल सेक्टरला हँडल करण्याकरता लागणारं टूल्स, पॉलिसी अप्रोचेस किंवा रिस्क मिटिगेशन अप्लायन्सेस म्हणून आपण काय करावं याच्यातनं आपण खूप पुढे आलो. आणि आज मी रिझर्व्ह बँकेत आहे म्हणून नाही सांगत, पण रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडिया इज कन्सिडर्ड वन ऑफ द बेस्ट सेंट्रल बँक्स इन द वर्ल्ड. अनेक देशांचे लोक कायम स्वरूपात आपल्या सेंट्रल बँकेला कन्सल्ट करत असतात की एवढा मोठा देश, इतक्या विविध प्रकारच्या फायनान्शियल एंटिटीज ज्याला रिझर्व्ह बँक रेग्युलेट करते. हे संख्या सांगायची झाली तर काहीशे बँका, साधारण 10,000 NBFCs, 1500 अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव्ह बँका, इनडायरेक्टली सुपरविजन थ्रू नाबार्डच्या रूपाने 350च्या वर जिल्हा बँका आणि 30-32 स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव्ह बँका, त्याशिवाय CICs, असंख्य रेग्युलेटेड एंटिटीज नावाचा जो प्रकार आपल्याकडे आहे तो खूप मोठा आहे. आणि या सगळ्या याच्यावरती ज्या पद्धतीने रिझर्व्ह बँकेने गेल्या काही वर्षात बोथ इम्प्रूव्ड रेग्युलेशन आणि सुपरविजन ठेवलेलं आहे, त्याच्यामुळे वी हॅव बीन एबल टू सस्टेन ए सबस्टॅन्शियल लेवल ऑफ फायनान्शियल स्टॅबिलिटी. and it is that is why it is considered one of the best central banks in the world. आपल्या विषयाकडे जाताना आधी 2 वाक्य आणखी बोलायला लागतील. India has emerged as one of the fastest growing economies. आता आपण कधी पुढे असू, कधी चायना पुढे असेल पुढच्या 5-7 वर्षाच्या ह्याच्या. But the race is between 2 of us, and generally we should be ahead of China as we see the figures, as we see the macro situation across the world. And याच्याच बरोबर we have emerged as the 5th largest economy, and it is expected in another 4 to 5 years we should be the 3rd largest economy. हे सगळं होत असताना to sustain economic growth, a robust growth for that matter, आणि हे सगळं होत असताना फायनान्शियल स्टॅबिलिटी ठेवणं, हे करण्यामध्ये सेंट्रल बँकेचा फार मोठा रोल राहणार आहे. आणि कुठली इकॉनॉमी कॅन सस्टेन ग्रोथ इफ इट हॅज अ स्ट्रॉंग फायनान्शियल सिस्टम. आणि म्हणून द फोकस ऑल अलॉंग विल बी आपल्याकडे पुढची काही वर्ष तरी अजून हा विशेष करून बँकांवरती आणि फायनान्शियल इन्स्टिट्यूशन्सवरती राहणार आहे. कारण दे आर लीडिंग द ग्रोथ टुडे इन ऑन ऑल फंडामेंटल पॅरामीटर्स. या कोविडने आणखी एक चित्र बदललं आणि त्याच्याबरोबर युरोपच्या वॉरनीही एक मोठं चित्र बदललं. क्रिप्टोवरचा लोकांचा विश्वास अजून पूर्ण उडालेला नाही, पण उडतोय. आणि जसजसे इन्सिडेंट दरवेळेला पेपरला येतात तसा तो जातो. और नॅशनल पॉलिसीज दॅट क्रिप्टो इज नॉट ए करन्सी, विल नेवर रिकग्नाइज इट. आणि अपार्ट फ्रॉम इट डझंट हॅव एनिथिंग टू सपोर्ट द व्हॅल्यूज दॅट इट क्लेम्स, as a sovereign country, we cannot afford that. Increased use of crypto would result in dollarization of Indian economy. And then what we are able to manage our economy through fiscal and monetary policies will get reduced, impact would get reduced. आणि म्हणून कुठलीही sovereign country for that matter is not going to accept crypto. But then there are ease of doing transactions in crypto. That is what is always brought about. आणि म्हणून we are one of the few countries in the world यांनी सेंट्रल बँक यांनी इश्यू केलेली डिजिटल करन्सी we have launched. Wholesale level वरती it is working smoothly for last few months, and in retail also it is picking up. छोटी छोटी लोक देखील या डिजिटल करन्सी करता आता आपलं वॅलेट ओपन करायला लागलेली आहे. त्याच्यात तुम्ही सोशल मीडियावरती एक पाणीपुरीवाला, एक चहावाला याचे चित्रही बघितली असतील आणि ही बघितली असतील. आणि थिंग्स आर अंडर डेव्हलपमेंट ऑन दॅट फ्रंट. या रशिया युक्रेन वॉरनी आणखी एक मोठी अपॉर्च्युनिटी भारताला दिली. वी स्टार्टेड बेबी स्टेप्स विथ रशिया. या पुढचा ट्रेड रशियाशी रुपीमध्ये होईल. आणि काल जर का तुम्ही रात्री टी व्हीवरती बातम्या वाचल्या ऐकल्या असतील, 18 countries have been permitted to deal in rupee with us. Reserve Bank यांनी काल जे अनाउन्स केलं होतं. And this is just the beginning. इन्फॉर्मल माहिती जी आहे ती आणखी 10-15 देश ॲक्टिव्हली त्या 18 मध्ये ॲड होतील. And eventually, in another 1.5-2 years' time, not less than 60 to 65 countries would directly be dealing with us in rupee. Now, these are the new, I would say, the horizons which are coming up in the financial system. आणि या सगळ्याकडे गोष्टींकडे ध्यान देत असताना, लक्ष देत असताना, आपण गेली काही वर्ष फायनान्शियल सिस्टीम आपली मजबूत राहावी. ती नॉट ओनली वेल रेग्युलेटेड, पण त्याचं सुपरविजनही इफेक्टिव्ह व्हावं याच्याकरता सतत प्रयत्नशील आहोत. आपल्याला आठवत असेल की एकेकाळी ते ऑनसाईट सुपरविजनवरती सगळा भर होता. 5 वर्षापूर्वी तो 5-7 वर्षापूर्वी, एक्झॅक्ट 5 म्हणून होता, 5-7 वर्षामध्ये तो ऑफसाईटवरती शिफ्ट झाला. मोठ्या प्रमाणावर बँकांकडनं ऑनलाईन डाटा डाउनलोड करून घेणं आणि त्याच्यावरनं हे करणं. आणि तो करत असताना, ह्या सगळा डाटा करत असताना इन्स्पेक्शन आणि सुपरविजन, ऑडिट हा फोकस मोस्टली फायनान्शियल इन्स्टिट्यूशनच्या हेड ऑफिसच्या भोवती फिरला. खरं सांगायचं तो ब्रांचेसच्या आजूबाजूला फिरला नाही. म्हणजे पंजाब नॅशनल बँकेचं हे सर्वात मोठं उदाहरण आहे की पंजाब बँक, नॅशनल बँक वॉज गोईंग स्ट्रॉंग आणि नीरव मोदीचा इथे फ्रॉड कोणाला लक्षात येत नव्हता. बिकॉज द फोकस वॉज ऑन लार्जर इश्यूज. ट्रान्झॅक्शन्सवरती फार मोठ्या प्रमाणात नव्हता आणि त्याच्यामुळे अनेक गोष्टी आपल्या नजरेतनं सुटत होत्या. क्लिनिक इंट्रोड्यूस झालं आपल्याकडे, त्यालाही आता जवळजवळ 8-7-8 वर्ष होऊन गेली. क्लिनिकचा डाटाबेस गोळा होतो, खरं सांगायचं म्हणजे 4-5 वर्ष गेली. सगळ्या बँकांचा 5 कोटीच्याहून अधिक ज्यांची लिमिट्स आहेत, तो सगळा डाटा क्लिनिक खाली एकत्र येणला. सगळ्यांचा कंप्लायन्स तो 4 वर्ष होऊन गेली. बट नाव वी हॅव ए रोबस्ट डाटा. आणि ह्या सगळ्याच्या आधारावरती रिझर्व्ह बँकेचा पुढच्या काळातला इन्स्पेक्शनचा फोकस हा ऑफसाईट राहीलच. जेव्हा जेव्हा जसजशी आवश्यकता असेल तेव्हा वर्षाअखेरपर्यंत न थांबता मध्ये देखील ऑनसाईट इन्स्पेक्शन्स होतील And the entire approach is going to be a balanced approach between off-site and on-site. That is the fundamental change that this is coming here. आणखी एक सगळा इश्यू या सगळ्या याच्यातनं येतो, त्याच्यातनंही आपण ट्रान्झिशन केलेलं आहे. कॅमल्सवरनं रेटिंग द्यायला जायचं, कॅमल्सवरनं आपण असेसमेंट करत होतो. नाव ओव्हर ए पिरियड ऑफ 4 to 5 years ही सुरुवात झाली. मला आठवत आहे 2000 साधारण 2-3च्या सुमाराला रिस्क बेस्ड ऑडिट म्हणून चर्चा सुरू झाली रिझर्व्ह बँकेत. त्यावेळेला मी बँकेचं चेअरमन होतो. आम्हाला सर्वांना बोलावलं होतं की व्हॉट डू यू फील ऑफ इट. त्याच्यातनं ओव्हर ए पिरियड ऑफ लास्ट 15 to 18 years ना वी हॅव मॅच्युअर्ड. आणि रिस्क बेस्ड सुपरविजनच्या माध्यमातून दी सुपरवायझरी एक्सरसाइज इज नाव व्हेरी रोबस्ट, व्हेरी व्हायब्रंट. आणि या क्रिलिकच्या डाटा रेग्युलर जो दिला जातो आणि जर का SMA खालती असला, स्ट्रेस डाटा असला, तो त्या सिरियसनेस किती आहे त्याच्या आधारावरती त्या डाटा रिझर्व्ह बँकेकडे पाठवण्याची फ्रिक्वेन्सी वाढवली. एकेका सुरुवात ज्याचा नॉर्मल नॉर्म जो क्वार्टर होता तो इट हॅज कम डाऊन टू वीकली सेंडिंग द डाटा टू रिझर्व्ह बँक इन केस ऑफ क्रिटिकल अकाउंट्स. त्या रिस्क बेस्ड इंटरनल ऑडिटचा फायदा आणखी एक मोठा झालेला आहे. कुठल्याही ऑर्गनायझेशनमध्ये इन्सिपियंट सिकनेस हा लगेच लक्षात येतो. अगदी पहिल्या 30 दिवसातच येईल असं मी नाही म्हणत, पण 60 ते 90 दिवसात जर का हे झालं तर तो नक्की लक्षात येतो. आणि पूर्वी असं होत असेल की एका बँकेचा डाटा फक्त आपल्याकडे येत असेल, विच इज नॉट सो द नाव. ऑल लेंडिंग इन्स्टिट्यूशन्स NBFCs कडनं देखील हा डाटा आता रिलीफच्या रूपाने रिझर्व्ह बँकेकडे रेग्युलर येतो. आणि सुपरविजन डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्स टूल्सचा उपयोग होत आहे आणि त्याचं मॅचमेकिंग होत आहे. एका कस्टमरचं 7 ठिकाणी जरी मल्टिपल बँकिंग खाती ट्रान्झॅक्शन्स होत असली किंवा NBFC ती होत असली, एखाद्या अर्बन बँकेत होत असली आणि तो जर का 5 कोटीच्या वरचा असला, द डाटा गेट्स मॅच. आणि जो प्रत्येक बँकेला दिलेला सिनियर सुपरवायझरी मॅनेजर आहे SSM, who on an ongoing basis has been interacting with all the banks across the country and NBFCs, तो लगेच ट्रॅक होतो. आणि म्हणून द फोकस नाव की सगळा इन्सिडेंट होऊन गेल्यानंतर आपल्याला माहिती मिळणं, कळणं आणि आपण ह्या सगळ्या ह्याच्यातनं मग ॲक्शन घ्यायला सुरू करणं हे न होता क्रिलिकचा क्वार्टरली डाटा क्रिटिकली ॲनालिसिस होतो आणि त्या डाटाच्या आधारावरती ॲप्रोप्रिएट रिस्क मिटिगेशन ॲक्शन्स ह्याही सुरू होतात. त्याच्यामुळे एका अर्थाने जेव्हा आपण हे बघतो त्या ह्याच्यातनं खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती एक जनरल अलर्टनेस हा येतोय आणि त्याच्यामुळे बँकांची परिस्थिती कोर्स करेक्शन, मिड कोर्स करेक्शन ज्याला आपण म्हणू शकू, तो आपल्याला ह्या सगळ्या ह्याच्यातनं मिळतो. या सगळ्या ह्याच्यातनं आणखी एक या सगळ्या ॲनालिसिसचा एक पुढचा भागही महत्त्वाचा येतो की आपण हे जेव्हा सेंट्रल बँकेकडे, रिझर्व्ह बँकेकडे हा सगळा डाटा येतो तेव्हा द सुपरविजन डिपार्टमेंट ऑर द रेग्युलेशन डिपार्टमेंट दे वर्क हँड इन हँड. आणि ते फक्त हे का झालं, हा कुठला अकाउंट आहे आणि कशात काय करायला हवं याच्यात न जाता the very business model of that financial entity is now being examined. आणि त्याच्यामुळे तुम्ही बघितलं असेल तर गेल्या 2-3 वर्षाच्या काळामध्ये गडबड काही ना काहीतरी कुठल्या ना कुठल्या तरी बँकेत काही ना काहीतरी होत राहणार. ती पूर्णपणे टाळता येईलच असं नाही, पण त्याचा जो निगेटिव्ह इम्पॅक्ट आहे तो मात्र खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणावर आपण कंट्रोल करण्यामध्ये यशस्वी आत्ता तरी झालेलो आहे. 23चे फिगर्स इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू प्रेडिक्ट, पण फायनान्शियल सेक्टर करता दे विल बी जनरली गुड ॲज दे वेअर इन मार्च 22 असं सेफली म्हणायला हरकत नाही. मार्चचे फिगर्स तुम्हाला आठवत असतील की आपलं कॅपिटल ॲडिक्वसी फॉर दी banking sector was as high as 15%. Provisioning coverage ratio was almost 78%. आणि जगातला आपला तिसरा देश आहे मोठा इतकं हाय प्रोव्हिजनिंग कव्हरेज रेशो करणारा आफ्टर US आणि स्वित्झर्लंड. आणि एवढंच नाही तर ग्रॉस आणि नेट NPA लेवल्स हॅव बीन लो while registering robust growth. कोविडच्या बॅकग्राऊंडवरती देखील डिपॉझिट आणि क्रेडिटचा ग्रोथ हा रोबस्ट होता. त्याच्यामुळे या सगळ्या ह्याच्यामध्ये यावर्षीचाही ग्रोथ चांगला राहील, कारण दर आठवड्याला ज्या 21 पॅरामीटर्सवरती इंडियन इकॉनॉमी आपण मॉनिटर करतो, वी आर डुईंग वेल ऑन ऑल फ्रंट्स, नॉट अ सिंगल त्याच्यातला कुठे कधी एखाद्या महिन्यात एखादा गोष्ट कमी जास्ती स्पीड कमी जास्ती होतो तसा असेल, पण ओव्हरऑल वी आर डुईंग वेल ऑन द इकॉनॉमिक फ्रंट. आणखी एक नवीन इनिशिएटिव्ह रिझर्व्ह बँकेने घेतला आहे, तो फुल्ली अजून हे झालेला नाही. एक लिगल एंटिटी नंबर म्हणून येणार आहे 20 डिजिटचा, आणि ज्या कस्टमरचं 50 कोटीच्याहून अधिक एक्सपोजर आहे आणि ज्याचं इंटरनॅशनल त्याला एक अँगल पण आहे, असं सर्व मेजर अकाउंट्स म्हणजे 5 कोटीचे तर क्लिनिकमध्ये आपण हे करतो, मॉनिटर करतोय, हे जे मोठे आहेत आणि ज्यांचा इंटरनॅशनल एक्सपोजर आहे असे अकाउंट्स ही लवकरच आता सेपरेटली मॉनिटर व्हायला लागतील. जवळजवळ सगळ्या मेजर बँकांनी माहिती आतापर्यंत दिलेली आहे, अजून काही थोडी अपडेट करणं पूर्ण मिळणं असं चालू आहे. पण परदेशात एक्सपोजर आहे म्हणून आपण इथे इंडियन फायनान्शियल सिस्टीमला त्याचा इम्पॅक्ट येणार आहे वगैरे असे जे इश्यूज कधी कधी आपल्याला दिसतात घडतात, तेही खूप पुढच्या काळामध्ये मिनिमाइज होतील, याच्याबद्दल आपण शंका करण्याचं कारण नाही. हे सगळं करत असताना रिस्क बेस्ड इंटरनल ऑडिट इज इमर्जिंग ॲज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इफेक्टिव्ह टूल्स अँड इट इज गिविंग रिझल्ट्स. म्हणजे नॉट ओनली टू दी रेग्युलेटर की कसं चाललं आहे काय आहे, पण बँक्स बाय देमसेल्व्स आर गेटिंग अर्ली वॉर्निंग सिग्नल्स. आणि त्याच्यामुळे या सगळ्या ह्याच्यातनं हे आपण रेग्युलेशनचं, इन्स्पेक्शनचं आणि ऑब्व्हियसली हे सगळं ऑडिटच्याशी लिंक्ड असल्यामुळे मी हे तुम्हाला ऑडिट हा शब्द न वापरता देखील मुद्दाम हा त्याच्यातला केला. पण रिस्क बेस्ड इंटरनल ऑडिट त्याच्यातनं काही पॉलिसीज इव्हॉल्व झालेल्या आहेत आणि मी आपल्याला सर्वांना विनंती करेन की मग ते ब्रांच ऑडिट असू दे किंवा सेंट्रल स्टॅच्युटरी ऑडिटर म्हणून तुम्ही बँकेचं काम करत असाल, जसा आपण डाटाचं ॲनालिसिस आणि मगाशी प्रकाश कुलकर्णी सरांनी जसं म्हटलं की तुम्ही भरपूर ॲनालिसिस आधीच ऑफिसमध्ये आपल्याला सपोर्ट टीमकडनं करता येईल, तसं मी आपल्याला सर्वांना विनंती करेन की प्रत्येक बँकेचं रिस्क बेस्ड ऑडिटचा जो फॉर्मॅट आहे त्यांचा किंवा त्यांचा जो रिपोर्ट आहे त्याचंही आपण जरूर अध्ययन करावं. इट विल गिव्ह यू लॉट ऑफ इन्साइट्स. अपार्ट फ्रॉम फायनान्शियल्स आणि फिगर्स आपल्याला ज्या मिळतात त्याच्यातलं तुम्हाला डायरेक्ट इंडिकेशन्स मिळतील आणि मुख्यतः आपण इथे आता ब्रांचचं ऑडिट करणारे इथे सगळे मित्र आहात, त्याच्यामुळे मी सांगेन की जे अकाउंट्स क्रेडिटला रिपोर्ट होतात आणि क्रेडिटला स्टँडर्ड, सबस्टँडर्ड, NPA ऑल अकाउंट्स गेट रिपोर्टेड, त्याच्यामुळे जे जे क्रेडिटला अकाउंट रिपोर्ट कुठल्याही ब्रांचला रिपोर्ट होतात ते निश्चितच नीट बघा. आणि एवढंच नाही तर आपण SMA 1, SMA 1, SMA 2 आणि SMA 3 हे जेव्हा बघतो तेव्हा तेही त्याच्यातनं जरूर बघा की त्याचा इम्पॅक्ट नक्की काय होणार आहे. इन्स्टिट्यूटची सेंट्रल लेवलला कमिटी आहे जी रिझर्व्ह बँकेशी क्वार्टरली चर्चा करत असते, भेटत असते. मला असं वाटतं की केस स्टडी घेऊन FAQs पण इन्स्टिट्यूटनी अधिक जर का दिल्या तर ऑडिट करणाऱ्या लोकांना खूप सोयीचं होईल. देर आर मेनी केसेस ज्याच्यात म्हणजे हंड्रेड्स ऑफ केसेस तुम्हालाही सर्वांना अनुभव येत असेल की तुम्ही एखादा अकाउंट स्टँडर्ड म्हटलं आहे, रिझर्व्ह बँकेने तो ॲक्सेप्ट नाही केला, डायव्हर्जन्स. कमर्शियल बँकांना आणि पब्लिक सेक्टर बँकांना there is a provision कि जर काही the management feels what the inspection team is saying is not, they don't concur with it, they send a variance letter, and which is taken into account by deciding or finalizing the inspection report. त्याच्यामुळे ब्रांचमध्ये देखील तुमचं जर का ब्रांच हेडशी, कारण ब्रांच आता आपल्या खूप मोठेल्या झालेल्या आहेत, नो लॉंगर स्केल 3 पर्यंतच फक्त मॅनेजर आता आहेत. आता चीफ मॅनेजर, AGM, काही ठिकाणी तर DGM देखील ब्रांच मॅनेजर्स आहेत. आणि काही रेअर केसेसमध्ये मुंबईमध्ये, दिल्लीमध्ये some branches are being headed even by a general manager. So it is quite often, it may quite be possible that there could be divergence of views. As branch auditor, do write what you feel is why you are making that statement. Maybe Sharma साहेबांसारखं नाही म्हणणार की this matter should be looked into further. एवढ्यावर थांबणार नाही मी. I would say please elaborate a little more so it can be taken up for consideration at the appropriate higher levels. हे सगळं म्हणत असताना रिझर्व्ह बँकेकडे रिझर्व्ह बँक इंटरनली विचार करत असताना फार कमी ठिकाणी वापरला गेलेला शब्द आहे, पण ॲश्युरन्स कम्फर्ट आर द 2 words that are now coming up in a big way in the financial sector. आणि दी होल आयडिया इज आपले सगळे स्टेक होल्डर्स फायनान्शियल सेक्टरमधले, whether he is a shareholder, a depositor, a borrower, a staff, an auditor, vendors who are supplying, or people with whom the financial institutions interact. The report, the function, not the report, sorry, the functioning of a financial institution should generate a general assurance comfort level that all is well with the institution that I am working. हा ॲश्युरन्स कम्फर्ट देण्यामध्ये सगळ्या चार्टर्ड अकाउंटंटचा फार मोठा रोल आहे. आणि मी मानतो की ॲज वी गो अहेड, एक स्ट्रॉंग फायनान्शियल सिस्टम टू सपोर्ट इंडियाज इमर्जन्स ॲज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट इकॉनॉमीज ॲज वी गो अहेड, आपल्याला सर्वांना फार मोठा महत्त्वाचा रोल आहे. आणि तो आपण सर्वांनी निर्भीडपणे मांडला. याचं असं बिलकुल मनात ठेवू नये की मी लिहू का नको, बॉर्डरलाईन केस आहे. तुम्हाला जर का शंका असेल तर मेक इट ए रेफरन्स, बट डोंट पुश इट अंडर द कार्पेट इज व्हॉट आय वुड ऑल रेकमेंड. मी माझं बोलणं एवढ्यानेच कन्क्लूड करेन की हे सगळं म्हणत असताना रिझर्व्ह बँक इज नॉट गोइंग टू मायक्रो मॅनेज द बँक्स. दॅट इज नॉट द पर्पज. इवन द रिझर्व्ह बँक हे सगळं करत असताना कुठल्याही प्रकाराने छोट्या मोठ्या गोष्टीकडे हे लक्ष देऊन तुम्ही हे करा ते करा अशा प्रकारच्या गाईडलाईन्स देणार नाही आहे. तर प्रत्येक बँकेने आपलं कामकाज उत्तम साधावं, to protect the interest of the depositors, फायनान्शियल हायकअप्स येऊ नयेत म्हणून, आणि कुठल्याही प्रकाराने फायनान्शियल डिस्ट्रप्शन आपल्या फायनान्शियल सिस्टीममध्ये येऊ नये म्हणून सर्व बँकांना आग्रह केलेला आहे की तुम्ही तुमच्या पॉलिसीज निर्माण करा, वरच्या रिव्ह्यू करा, इंटरनल ऑडिटमधनं किंवा तुमच्या ज्या जे फीडबॅक तुम्हाला येत असतील त्याच्यातनं ज्या गॅप्स येतात त्या तुम्ही फिल करा, आणि त्या ह्याच्यातनं एक स्ट्रॉंग हेल्दी व्हायब्रंट फायनान्शियल सिस्टीम आपण देशाची निर्माण करू. हा त्याच्यातला सगळा ॲप्रोच त्या सेंट्रल बँकेच्या पुढच्या काळातला राहणार. आणि देर विल बी नो मायक्रो मॅनेजमेंट, बट देर विल बी क्लोज स्क्रुटिनी of the data that gets generated and gets transmitted at frequent intervals. आणि त्याचा मी म्हणालो तसं आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्स आणि अनेक नवीन जी टूल्स त्यांनी उभी केलेली आहेत त्याच्या माध्यमातून मॉनिटरिंग होईल, अँड दॅट विल बी इन द लार्जर इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द इन्स्टिट्यूशन अँड द जनरल पब्लिक. थँक्यू. नमस्कार.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening us with your experience words. Now to felicitate our chief guest, Sri Satish Marathe sir, I would like to call Central Council member Chandrasekhar Chidrai sir to come forward. Also Chairman of Pune branch and other office bearers. Please come forward. Thank you everyone, and as this inaugural session ends, I request Secretary Ajinkya Randive sir to have a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Pritesh. Hello everyone. On behalf of Pune branch, I thank today's Chief Guest Satish Marathe sir, Director RBI, and CA Ranjan Kumar Sharma sir for accepting our invite and gracing us with your presence for today's keynote address from regulator's point of view. Sir, it is indeed a pleasure of hearing you and knowing your experience and knowledge and sharing it with us all. Thank you very, very much, sir. With this, we conclude our today's keynote address and we will proceed with further session on advances. Thank you.
There is one good news for all the participants. Taxman, our sponsors, have a special offer for all of us. They are offering 35% discount on books and 15% on the online subscriptions. This offer is on Income Tax Act and Rules 2023 edition. So if at all you wish to subscribe to the online module or have the physical copies of books, you may proceed to the Taxman store. Thanks.
Also, there is one more announcement. ICI Pune branch, in association with the JITO, we are having a marathon on 2nd April 2023, and which will be carrying the theme of Ahimsa. So I request the dignitaries from JITO, Lakishaji Marlecha and CA Nikunj Oswal, to brief about this marathon. Also, this association and whole program has been coordinated by our fellow member CA Sheetal Gadia. Thank you so much for that.
Good afternoon all the chartered accountants. This is CA Nikunj Oswal and along with me is Lakishaji Malrecha. We are organizing a marathon named Ahimsa Run on the 2nd of April 2023. This marathon is going to be held on the race course Pune. The cause for organizing this marathon is peace and non-violence. So the main motive of organizing this marathon is we want everyone to run for peace and non-violence. This marathon is going to be held at 67 cities all over the country and 23 countries all over the globe. So this is going to happen on a global scale. It is a international event, and we have also registered for the Guinness Book of World Records. We are also trying to make a world record attempt by registering maximum participants. We are targeting 50,000 members from all over the globe to be a part of this marathon. So we request all the chartered accountants who are here today for this session to register. We have a desk that is kept outside for registering. 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers and 10 kilometers are the 3 categories which we are keeping. So we request everybody to be a part of it. Over to you, Lakisha ji.
Hello everyone. As Nikunj told about this run, already he mentioned everything about it. So be a part. We are very excited कि हमारे साथ आप लोग जुड़े. थोड़ा सीरियस वाला माहौल था, लेकिन हम लोग चाहते हैं कि इसको और थोड़ा एक कलर दे, इसलिए हम लोग ये अनाउंसमेंट यहाँ पे कर रहे हैं. और ये पुणे रेस कोर्स पे ये इवेंट हो रहा है, जहाँ पे हमको एक आर्मी का भी पूरा सपोर्ट मिल रहा है. 100 आर्मी soldiers are participating in this run. They are supporting for this noble cause, peace. So जैसे वो सपोर्ट करे, डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से भी हमको सारा सपोर्ट इसमें मिल रहा है. वी आर टारगेटिंग नियर अबाउट 20,000 फ्रॉम पुणे टू मेक अ रिकॉर्ड. सो थैंक यू एंड बी अ पार्ट. हम लोग आपके साथ ये सारे लिंक्स शेयर करेंगे जहाँ पे आप रजिस्टर कर सकते हो. थैंक यू.
As well briefed by Jito Chairperson Lakisha Marlecha ji and my fellow colleague Nikunj Oswal, I request all my professional brethren to participate in huge numbers and support this huge cause. Thank you.
Lastly, we would like to thank Pritesh, Rajesh ji and the entire Pune ICI team to coordinate with us and associate with us for this marathon. We do look forward for more and more chartered accountants from Pune to be a part of it. Thank you so much. We do have a registration desk outside. Whenever you go out for a break, we would request you, there is a QR code through which you have to register. QR code को scan करके आपको register करना है. Thank you and be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jito team. Moving towards the next session, I would like to call my colleague C. Ajinkya Randive to take it through forward.
Thank you, Pritesh. So moving forward, we will be having our next session on advances, including practical aspects, frauds, and identifying red flags. For this, I would like to welcome our next speaker, CA Nachiket Dev sir, and I also request CA Pritesh Munot to kindly assist him on the dais. Brief introduction of CA Nachiket Dev sir. He is a fellow chartered accountant and alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. He is a partner at PG Bhagwat LLP for more than 15 years. He looks after statutory audits of corporates and banks of the firm, PG Bhagwat. The firm was founded way back in 1938 and is one of the oldest firm in the field of audit and assurance. Sir is an engagement partner, review partner for many listed and unlisted companies, a member of study group set up by ICI on formation of guidance note on CARO 2020, member of expert committee on bank audit set up by ICI, member of study group set up by ICI on formation of guidance note on bank audit for 2018 to 13. It's a yearly publication. Member of FRRB ICI and ex-member of INT-AS Transition Group ICI. He has actively contributed numerous articles on the topic of bank audit in publication of the WRC of ICI. I request my managing committee member CA Pritesh Munot to kindly felicitate CA Nachiket Dev sir. Thank you.
Before we start, I just want to say that it's my great honor and pleasure that I am felicitating my principal. I've done my articleship under his team. Thank you.
So I hand over to you, Nachiket sir, and we'll move ahead with the session. Thank you.
So let us start with the session. I think the context has been already set by all the chief guests over here, Mr. Marathe and Shonali. Now moving to the main part of the advances, I can see very senior faces in the front row and the back rows, and this is of course not for them, but for the chartered accountants which are sitting and experiencing this, or doing the audit for the first and second time, was not so senior enough. So for all seniors, if something goes wrong, please correct me. Okay, so let's start with the main topic. So the topic given to me today is audit of advances, including practical aspects. So this is a short disclaimer. This is my personal views, whatever I will be talking about it, and nothing to do with ICI. Although I am part of that committee, I am a co-author of a guidance note as well, but still all the views are my personal views and nothing to do with my firm or the institute. So moving to what I am going to talk about. First of all, current context and perspective. Most of the things I already said. I have left with only 40-45 minutes, so I will not go in deep for that current context and perspective. Then what are the important circulars and for statistics as well. Then overview of the advances. Fourth one is practical aspects. I am not going to teach you what is LFIR, what to be written in LFIR, and what are the the standard kind of a presentation. I purposefully avoided it. So I will just going to highlight some key points on the credit appraisal, sanctioning, disbursement, post monitoring, as well as some of the red flags in context with whatever the practical cases we have found out or we seen while doing the center statutory audit, as well as with reference to EWS circular, a famous circular issued by RBI. So I will be talking something about it, and the red flags in the audit report. So while I know the red flags in audit report, the CARO 2020 is now been there for a year, but how to extract the information as a part of a branch auditor and how to use that information for your audit report, that is something which I am going to talk about. So if you see the current context, already stakeholder expectations are already there. I think we heard a lot from the police wing as well as from RBI, so I will not touch more on that, but these are our stakeholders. I can say when we are doing a branch audit, who are our stakeholders really is the first is central statutory auditor, and what is their expectation is to reduce communication gap. So that is something which is very important. So whatever Mr. Marathe has already mentioned about it, whatever you want to be want to highlight, you have to be more vocal. The communicative value has to be robust, and that is something which is required for a central statutory auditor. See, when we are doing a central statutory auditor of a particular bank as a whole, where there are thousands of branches, we can't go to each and every case. However, if you as a branch auditor highlight something in a proper manner, it is for a great benefit for you as well as us to take that particular point forward. So that is why the expectation is to reduce the communication gap. Second, management. Now we have to report in terms of financial controls. When we are doing that at a branch level, we have to also see the operative effectiveness of that particular branch as such, whatever the controls which are set in, whether they are operative effective or not. For that, management is also looking at you, HO or ZO or regional office is also looking at you to look at that particular point, whether my branch people or whether the particular branch you are auditing, whether it is the controls are operative effective or not. And if not, then you have to again have a chance to report that particular part. Then those charged with governance, obviously for us audit committee. So audit committee wants trustworthiness. So this is something their expectation that you have to be a trusted partner. You are extended eyes when you are doing a branch as well as central statutory auditor. And then the regulators, already we heard a lot about regulators, so I will not touch more on that particular thing. But what they are transparent and audits to be more vocal. So we already listened to him, and the essence of his talk was like that only. You should be more vocal, be precise, and do the audit very diligently. Then depositors, on the macro side, depositors want reliability from the audit report. So this is our expectations right now. So we are, the context is this. So we have to have a stakeholder expectation management, and then framing that, that particular background has to be set in your mind, and then you should start the audit. This is a current situation. I am just going for a context setting, and then I will touch upon the advances. So loans are turning bad. They are obviously not turning bad in a day or two. There is a process, SMA 0, SMA 2, the incipient stress, probably some fraudulent activity, misappropriation of funds. So these are basically what the people are saying. The internal, this is basically internal control failure, as well as the general view, as Mr. Sharma was also telling, the auditors are missing glaring sign. So this is very important. Already we heard about the watchdog theory and bloodhound theory, but at the same time, it has been also noticed in the when we are talking to various committees, it has been also noticed that some of the glaring signs are missed by the auditors because of any other reason. I don't want to go into that. But this is a general perception, and what the effect is, there's a trust deficit for the stakeholders. So this is a context right now in which you will be accepting a branch audit. I am not scaring you, but this is something right now the situation is outside the all the regulators and the general public at large. So what are the changes in ecosystem right now in this? So probably you might be doing audits of limited companies as well. The current financial statements have been changed drastically to reduce that particular information asymmetry. So this is very important, and some of the potent questions, direct questions have been asked to the management, and this is, as a branch auditor, we should use. But right now I am just giving a context, what are the changes in ecosystem which are happening right now in all the banks as well as audits and the entire regulatory framework. Is the preparers of financial statement are now, there is amendment in Schedule 3, integrated financial reporting, all these are looking towards, or is more transparently they are declaring something. So we as a branch auditor have to effectively use it. For individual person, there is now artificial intelligence, AI is also developed, so all this is also changing. On a concurrent auditor sides, accountability is also coming. You heard about the PFC bank, wherein the concurrent auditors are also asked questions. The regulator has posed some questions to regulate these concurrent auditors. So gone are those days where the risk-free concurrent audit is there. So although you are doing a very small portion of the particular branch as a concurrent auditor, you are exposed to that risk. Then evaluation of by TC leverage is also something which we have to talk about. Then external auditor, we come into this ecosystem after the management, concurrent auditor, and now the branch auditor, accountability, exposure to the regulators. So we as we heard from Mr. Kulkarni, there are some branch auditors who are getting letters from RBI directly for the divergence. So all this is now changing. So everybody is on the radar, not only the auditors. The credit rating agencies, you might have heard for some months back, one credit rating agency is banned for not doing the work as per the standards. So the new set of rules are coming for the credit rating agencies, and the monitoring is now very robust in case of that rating agencies. And the regulatory bodies, obviously, they are now, we heard about that, artificial intelligence is also coming. So right now, FRRB is one set of ICA, then URB, Quality Review Board, and then RBI, obviously. I have not mentioned NAFRA over here, since we are talking only about the bank branch audit perspective. So all these regulators are also now watching us, and there is a continuous kind of a monitoring. While he was explaining, Mr. Marathe was explaining about the SSN, as a senior supervisory manager. He is continuously in dialogue with the management as well as auditor with respect to the banks. And that is why the entire ecosystem of this particular thing is going under tremendous change. And so as we have to also, as auditor, have to change our strategies, methodology. And if I say, because this is all our own crowd, we have to be more serious in terms of these audits. So gone are those days where people are saying, okay, 4 or 5 days में मिल गया audit, 1-2 लाख रुपए मिल गया, चलो हो गया. This is not the case now. You have to prepare. You have to fully active on those days, because the time is very essential. We have to complete all these audits within let's say 8 to 10 days, and that is why it is very, very important that you give utmost seriousness be updated on this particular ground. And that is why I would like to thank Pune ICA people that they are doing such kind of a training activity just to create awareness of this particular audit function. So now I would just like to highlight RBI important circulars and other guidance notes. So 2023 guidance note of bank is released. It's a beautiful guidance note, although I am also co-author, but I am just saying please make use of those guidance notes, because lot of good mandates have already going in creating that guidance note. So there are some practical examples as well as institute has also coming up with the expert panel, wherein the window will be open for those 10 to 12 days, wherein you can ask technical questions to the institute, and within 24 to 48 hours you will get the answer, technical answer. So all this also is under pipeline, and please make use of those guidance note as well as make use of this expert who are sitting for you to give advice. So on then the famous master circular on IRAC, I think there is a session afterwards as well for this IRAC circular. Then master direction on frauds, which we are going to cover in bits and pieces as the time comes. Then a master circular on exposure norm. This is very important circular. Although you are doing a branch audit, some of the branches are huge, and that is why the exposure norms is something which is very important to you to understand. Then housing finance, individual housing loans, because some of the branches can be in Mofussil area, and there is the exposure. If the retail branch is there, so you have to know this particular housing finance and housing loan circulars. Then primary sector lending, this is important circular you have to look at. So I will going to share this particular presentation to the branch, so you can have that particular download from them, and at least this circular you should have a hold into. So ad hoc on short review renewal of credit facilities, those dates are also given. Legal entity identifier, we just heard about that. So this is a new thing which is come up, and 50 crore and above loan has to be registered as ADI, and that is something which we have to keep a watch while selecting the sample. Also we have to be mindful about these legal entity identifier accounts, and probably the extra audit procedure, substantive audit procedure has to be carried out for those people. Then RBI annual report and publication, excellent publication which get published yearly, quarterly, half yearly. So there are two, I can say annual report 21-22 is already there on domain. The financial stability report is also something which have to be there. First of all, don't look at this कि अरे मैं तो ये छोटी branch कर रहा हूँ, I am doing just a small branch, how can this affect for this RBI and all. You have to develop that perspective. Although you are doing a component audit, I am purposefully using a component audit word, I am not using the branch audit, because you are an important component auditor for me as a central statutory auditor. So unless you know what to have, what to check, the trustworthiness and the audit quality will not percolate down or will not move up to the central statutory audit level. So that is why it is very important that you should look into, although you are doing a small branch, you have to have such kind of a audit report or such kind of a RBI rating. This is something very essential for you to understand and perform the audit in a better way. So now if you see the fraud cases, so coming to the topic, so this is again 21-22 data, wherein I am just making a comparative from 1920, 2021 and 21-22. If you see the public sector bank, I am presuming right now that the branch audit which you are getting is from the public sector bank. So let's concentrate on the first row. The 1920 branch number of cases 4410, 2901 and 3078. So again for 2021 and 21-22 the number is increasing, and the percentage is also mentioned over there. Although fraud 2021 and 2022, the value of the fraud has been reduced, but you are all knowledgeable people, and you can read there were some big fraud accounts which happened in last year. That is not the case in this year, so that is why the value is less. But as a branch auditor, we have to be mindful on the number of frauds. So because we are not dealing with such some famous fraud like Nirav Modi's case and probably the Videocon and Bhushan Steel, and I am not going to discuss those accounts or the famous AQR accounts. Probably some of you might be knowing it, the famous AQR exercise, asset quality review exercise, has been conducted by RBI in way 2016, and almost 20-25 large biggest accounts have been categorized as a fraud or substantive or demon category. So I'm not going to discuss on that particular aspect, but we are more concentrated on the smaller amount where the exposure is, let's say, anything between 2 crore, 5 crore to, let's say, 200 crore or 100 crore, not going beyond that. So we have to be mindful on this particular thing, and how the fraud cases are being captured over here. The number is also increasing, and this is getting monitored from RBI. So this is RBI source data which I am using over here. Now if you go to next slide, out of all the fraud, if you see the advance, the red one, it constitutes about 42%, 3839 number of frauds, and the value is about 95%, 96%. It is as high as 96%. So that is why while doing the branch audit, if you are doing something, 10 days program or 11 days program for a branch audit to complete, probably I would suggest at least 60% time you should devote on the advances scrutiny, because that is the importance, that is the need, and the figures and other factors force you to give that much attention to that advances. I am just saying 60% as a minimum. Depending upon the size and the nature of the branch, you can vary. So that I will come to it. But that is why advances is the most critical aspect in terms of all the branch audit. Now, if you see overview of advances, as I already talked about, audit of advances is one of the most important aspect because it's generally have a major share in the entire balance sheet. About 60-70% is the total income is also generated from the advances size. I am just taking average. A particular branch might be having more than that, 80-85%. So depending upon that particular size, you have to decide the sampling, you have to decide your audit methodology, audit strategy, and observation pertaining to audit of advances to be mentioned in LFAR as well. So if you see the entire LFAR, the first branch LFAR I am talking about, almost 2-3 pages are written, specific questions have been asked for the LFAR. So now I am going to do a walkthrough kind of a thing just to understand how you will perform the branch audit in terms of advances. So I am just putting essay references also here, but this walkthrough is important because many times newcomers or the person who is doing audit, branch audit for the first time is just confused कि अरे मेरे पास तो अभी 10 दिन है, कहाँ से चालू करे, कहाँ खत्म कर रहा है करे, so कैसे चालू करे. So this kind of anomaly is probably you might be having a short of resources, maybe some of the important functions are also there. On 1st April आपने articles सब stock को जाने वाले हैं, अरे फिर 1 April को कैसे करें. So these are the practical difficulties we generally face. So उसके लिए what I thought I should do a walkthrough and take you along on that particular series, how to actually zero down to a sample size and and perform the audit. So this is something the step-by-step approach I have written. Probably it may be useful for you. So first of all, understanding the branch portfolio. This is the first important activity which doesn't require at least a lot of people and something like that. You have a dump. You have Excel. Already Prakash Kulkarni sir has already mentioned that you can do your homework. In addition to that, what I also suggest, sit in that particular branch manager's cabin and make him talk. So this is very important. Make him talk and you only listen. Sorry to say that, but some of the auditors have habit, अरे मेरे को सब आता है. They start acting or they directly in a reaction mode from the table. So don't do that because these people, the branch people and the branch staff are there for 365 days and you are going there only for 10-12 days. So don't act in a such a way that okay, I know everything, so now you just hand over me the files and I will do my watching. So this approach probably will not be helpful. Although in some cases that kind of approach is helpful, but the situation at this stage is not that. So first of all, you have to understand. So you should be in the recipient mode and make him talk. my personal experience and my senior colleague will also agree on this, that after 1 or 2 hours, you get all the information, all the problematic accounts. If you just listen, patiently listen and make him talk. It's up to your skill that how to make him talk. The branch manager is one, or the credit officer is another person. So all these people are actually wanted. There are very few exceptions where the people are not transparent or not opening up their mind. Otherwise, if you talk to them in a nicely manner, probably they themselves will come out with certain kind of information which is very useful for us. So this is very important aspect which we have to cover, understanding of the branch portfolio. Now, while understanding the branch portfolio, we have to also see what is the branch and what is their dominance. So some of the branch are agricultural advances branch, some of the branch are retail asset branch, some of the branch are very large branch having a various exposure. Some of the branch are typically having exposure to a very small sector, housing sector and all. So all this is important for you to make your perspective of the audit. So don't feel like that, okay, there is, अरे यहाँ पे तो 100 crore के above का एक ही account नहीं है, चलो, we are safe. That is not the case now, because the LFR also mandate you to report 10% of the advances and 10 crore which is higher. So probably a small branch, if you are going and saying कि okay, अरे यहाँ पे बड़ा account नहीं है, तो we are safe and we can complete the audit in 3-4 days and just come out. So that is not the case anymore, because the LFR mandate us to report in a particular manner and give weightage to that particular branch advances. So you are not looking a materiality on a bank level. So for example, I am just giving an example. If you are doing a branch audit of a Bank of Baroda and you are getting a particular branch, let's say having a exposure of, let's say 100 crore or 150 crore, you don't have to see the materiality from the Bank of Baroda's portfolio size. You have to look at your branch portfolio size, and that materiality has to be set. So this is very important, because I have observed whenever we discuss with the branch statutory auditors, वो branch auditor चालू ही करता है, sir मेरा branch कितना छोटा है, how does it matter to you? That's not the problem, because if fraud happens, the letter will come to you as well, not only from RBI but some internal also. So that is why it is very important to set the materiality in that context, in that branch context. So this is very important. The third one is analysis of concurrent and internal audit reports. So many times we just overlook, we just turn the pages because of the want of time and all. We just see kya likha hai kya. That is not the case, because those people are actually there on most of the time. So right now the concurrent audit and risk-based internal audit mandate us to mandate those chartered accountants or those audit firm to go there, sit there, attendance is compulsory. So by doing that, you are getting actually a good feed. So while doing a sample, because if you are going to a branch, let's say I'm giving a practical example, if that particular branch is having a 500 accounts, it is not practically possible that in 8 to 10 days, out of that 6-7 days are only the working days, rest of the days you have to report, you have to give 100 and 150 certification. So you don't have that much time to devote on each and every account. So these are basically important indicators wherein you can focus on those accounts which are already mentioned somewhere, highlighted somewhere. So this is one of the very important aspects, that when you are doing an analysis of a concurrent audit report, please pick up the samples. Please see who are the samples which will be in my sampling list. So this is an important step as far as the overall planning is concerned. So don't miss that step. Give 1 day at least, 2 days at least. Make your article sit and do a summary kind of a thing. It will automatically comply with all auditing standards as well. Because why I'm saying these auditing standards are mandatory, when any wrong thing is happened, let's say any fraud happens, the questions are raised on auditors. As an auditor, what procedures you have performed. So that time it is very, very important that you have to perform, you have to demonstrate that these procedures have been performed. So it's just not like that, I but I have not done the documentation. So while doing that, prepare a summary, prepare a minutes of meeting, preparation of a synopsis of the internal audit report, preparation of a synopsis of the concurrent audit report. It will not take much time, but this is very essential for the future. So that is why this step is very, very important. Then going ahead with the review of MIS report and other periodical reports. So bank as a whole have developed, most of the banks have robust IT systems. still there are some kind of branch reports or the MIS reports which are very, very important for all of us. So for example, if I may say overdue register, SMA report, SMA 0 report, SMA 2 report, the valuation, where the flag has been raised, where the valuation date has been expired. All these periodical reports are very, very important reports for us to understand and focus on the particular branch portfolio. So these, make use of those reports. Please ask those reports. Do not hesitate कि मैं ये कैसे मांगूं. Please ask those reports and perform the audit test or pick up the samples from that particular reports as well. Then scrutiny of compliance of last year LFR. This is again important thing. Most of the time what you find, आप सब audit complete करते हो, then at the last you give you come to LFR wherein there are only 1 day or 2 day or half a day, and then you ask for अरे वो पिछला LFR दे दो, and then copy paste that LFR to this LFR. Probably it might not be relevant at all. But don't do like that. At the start also, in your first initial steps, make use of that LFR. This will save your time for future, not only for LFR compliance but while selecting the samples as well. So then afterwards, RBI master direction and circulars, I already touched upon that. Then a discussion with management. So while we discuss about that, we make the particular branch manager speak. Discussion with management, other people is also very important. And please ask, after reading all these reports, prepare a summary of those points. Suppose ये branch में 15 accounts which we need to talk. You ask for that particular 15 accounts. You talk to him, talk to that branch manager. Okay, I have gone through your report. I have gone through your MIS. I have gone through the concurrent reports, and these are my 10-15 accounts which I need to talk to. Do you have anything to say on that? Probably he might say okay, yes, you are right, you are doing this account. Probably he also say there are one more account in this particular category which you have not discussed with me. So all this is beneficial for you to understand from that particular point of view. So discussion with management is also very, very important. I purposefully put essay reference as well. Please make a minutes of that particular meeting as well. So this is very important for our documentation. Then understanding the system environment and evaluation of system of general reports. So this is important. Generally what we saw, people are using such some of the reports which are not useful or which are otherwise having no practical I can say tested. Or when we are doing something, let's say we are doing audit of advances, and when we are going to a branch, we ask for certain basic exception reports. So a branch manager sometimes gives some kind of exception report. Probably that validity of that exception report you don't know. So please do a sample check of one account each. So for example, if you are going to receive a overdue register, please highlight any of the point and please actually check with that system register whether it is really showing the correct output. That particular report is having a correct output or not. If it is not, then please mention that I have relied on those particular report, but there is some kind of a ITGC control issue in this particular generation of the report. It will save you. Please ask for explanation, that particular report explanation also with the management. So all these reports, generally what kind of a report, I have already highlighted that, but overdue register, DP less than sanction limit, CC continuously overdrawn, debit credit submission, all these reports, you need to check the sanity of the report. That is very important. Don't just blindly believe that okay, these reports are coming in Excel. You don't know whether these are coming with some kind of a tampering, some kind of a intermediary, or directly coming from the system. So please, first of all, make use of your particular ITGC test on those particular reports. Confirm it that those are really genuine reports. Those are really giving a output which is there in the system, and then use that particular report. And then first of all, reading the closing circular. This is very, very important task because most of the instructions are coming through a closing circular. There might be some kind of a formal meeting with central statutory auditor or branch higher ups or the bank higher ups with you. But if it is not, then closing circular is a savior. Closing circular gives you how to pass an MOC, how to give a report particular format, what are the reports which are applicable, what are the reports you have to safely rely on. If the reports names are also there in that particular, kindly ask those reports. don't just believe on the particular reports which are received from the branch manager. You have to correlate with the closing circular, and then that use those reports for the purpose of your testing. Now coming to advances, generally these are the types of advances. You have seen this template quite often, I'm sure, and this is very common. This thing I will not touch upon. I will not waste your time on that, but just read fund based, non-fund based is the two major portion. Fund generally include term loan, working capital, overdraft, bill discounting. Non-fund, bank guarantee, letter of credit, co-acceptances. So the second one, non-fund, we never used to do. This is a practical fact which I am telling. I am discussing with all the branch managers, branch auditors also. Most of the time, this second leg was neglected. But after Nirav Modi scam and all, now you will be, I'm sure that you will give that much importance to non-fund based facilities as well. So again, on this particular advances, fund or non-fund, there are 4 basic categories: credit appraisal, sanction of the loan, loan disbursement, post monitoring. So these are the 4 main pillars. LFR also mandate us to report in those sub pointers. So we'll go with the credit appraisal. So famous 5C principle. When you are doing a credit appraisal, after now you are at the stage when you have already completed all the basic activities and sample selection is there. When I am doing a sample selection, after that analytics, after that exception report, after going through internal report, now you have kind of samples which are ready for audit and which you have to focus on. So now what you will do? So you have to first pick up a sample which is sanctioned during this year, during your period, and do a credit appraisal test as well. So most of the time we directly jump on the credit monitoring. We just see stock statement and okay, we never go on this credit appraisal side. So credit appraisal is generally seen into 5C categories. First of is character of the person. Although he might be a farmer, he might be a household person, he might be a salaried employee, he might be an industrialist, he might be a trader. The character will come from what? Credit score and all, credit history and credit rating. So credit rating is available, and you can see the credit rating and the deviations taken for that particular thing. So this is very important. When it comes to condition, what are the conditions? Whether it is aligned with your credit policy. So as a part of first procedure, you must be having with you a credit policy document which mandates or which is a guidance or which is a guiding principle for the branch management to act upon. For all, the system design is there through a credit policy. Now they have to operatively effect that particular policy. Whether that particular conditions have been prescribed which are mandatory to be required to be prescribed in that particular category. For example, vehicle loan, a classic example, vehicle loan, where the credit policy mandates what kind of a percentage we can give to the vehicle loan, how the disbursement has to happen to a particular vehicle loan, whether it will be directed dealer, whether the quotations have been arrived. So all those conditions have been laid down in that particular credit policy document. So all those conditions which are now put in the sanction letter, whether they are aligned with the credit policy. So do your sample check, whatever samples you have selected. Now you have already have a stratified sample which give you a 100% result. Now focus on those samples. Don't just go around मैंने सब देख लिया, ऐसा मत करो. You have to have a particular sample, and that sample has to be thoroughly tested, and the methodology has to be written in the format in which you are doing a documentation. So after condition, the capacity. Now I am purposefully using a capacity over here because you as a branch auditor are exposed to, let's say, 300, 400, 100 crore loan or 50 crore loan where the capacity is a problem. Willingness is not a problem right now at the branch level. Probably those accounts, say 1,000 crore or 5,000 crore accounts, there is a problem of capacity as well as willingness. So right now we will just focus on the capacity. Assess the borrower capacity to repay. Here I would like to caution you some of the products, like LAB product is one of the product, loan against property. Although it's a product which is approved by RBI, which is approved by various banks, please see whether they have a capacity to repay. Only immovable property is there, and the loan has been taken from that particular on the basis of that immovable property's valuation. But the unit or the person doesn't have a cash generation ability to repay that particular EMI or a particular interest also. Please see that aspect. So some of the products, LAP is a one product which I can give example. So all those cash generation, working capital loan is given, but the working capital cycle, operating cycle is not matching with that particular EMI. So that you have to see. So all those capacity exercise has to be covered. Then capital, what is the promoter skin in that particular business? Whether he is banking only with respect to your resources, you are in the bank resources, or whether he is putting his money into the account. So the debt equity ratio is something which is very important. That has to be seen from a capital point of view. Unless and until his own capital is invested in that business, he will not be serious on that particular business. That is a general conclusion which can be drawn. So make sure that this capital character has to be seen while you are doing the credit appraisal. Then the collateral. Collateral offers assurance that if the borrower defaults, there is something to bank upon. So now this collateral, when I am saying a collateral, the percentage is already defined in credit policy. So what kind of a collateral you want, what kind of a percentage you can explore it, and if there is a deviation from that particular collateral value, let's say a particular credit policy mandates that particular loan should have a particular loan facility should have a 50% collateral. If that is not the case, if you are only accepting 30%, what are the deviation that is also seen, and that has to be incorporated in your RFA. Although they are sanctioned, deviated, in the sample, whosoever you are selecting, you just have to see all three deviations are there and appropriate authority has sanctioned those deviations. So that shows that you have applied your mind on the audit. So this is very important for you. Now I will quickly go on the red flag indicators. Now key points in the credit appraisal. First of all, in-depth reading of the process note. Process note has to be read very carefully, and sometimes it gives some red flags in process note itself. Although there is a deviation matrix, DO is perfectly adhered, some of the pointers needs to be observed and needs to be incorporated in your report. So while doing LFAR, probably you can bifurcate your observation or the points into two parts. One is observation and one is action. So RBI also generally took that particular approach. Observation, whatever you have observed, you can see that, or you can put as your observation. That shows that you are serious and you are in that particular diligence. And then action points where you expect the branch manager should come out with the action plan. You can write that particular points. Then detailed understanding of credit policy we already talked about. Verification of credit policy we already talked about. I am little late and behind the schedule. That is why I am running too fast. If you are having any problem, we can directly talk in lunch as well. But I had to complete all the slides and we are just, I think, having 10 minutes more. So evaluation of factors such as prospects of the business, risk profile. Now, this is very important. When you are doing a bank audit, you are exposed to various sectors. Whatever, automotive sector or the agriculture, or you can take any sector you are exposed to. So looking at the, you remember I talked about the understanding of the branch and the flavor and the type of the branch. So if you are agri-dominated branch, if you are retail-dominated branch, you have to have that perspective in your mind. Now on the basis of that perspective, now you have to come with the your audit methodology on this particular factor, risk profile. So if the particular branch is having 10 accounts which are directly affecting risk, which are directly affecting a seasonal sector, you have to understand that risk profile first. Unless and until you understand that risk profile, you will not be able to comment on the credit appraisal process note as well as the sanctioning. So you have to understand that particular risk factor of that particular business, of that particular industry, and then comment on it. So most of the time process note captures some of the risk profile part, but you as an independent chartered accountant can also give a thought on that particular part. Then as well as the promoters, who are the promoters, what are their backgrounds, we already talked about. Sources and the period of repayment, we already talked about. Detailed review of visit report. So this is most important report, which generally what I found in small cases at least, विजिट रिपोर्ट इज ब्लैंक. हाँ, हम जब पूछते हैं ब्रांच मैनेजर को कि अरे विजिट रिपोर्ट क्या, हाँ सर वो था एक्चुअली साइन ऑफ करके दे देता हूँ, वो अपने सामने ही बना के अपने को देता है. दिस इज अ प्रैक्टिकल फैक्ट. But don't go by that particular this thing. The visit report should be as clear, because we have found some cases. So there are some vehicle loans, there are some house loans, basically home loans, wherein actually multiple facilities have been taken on the same particular security. So visit report basically serves that purpose, whether that particular borrower really exists, whether that business is running. So he has to comment on the business, he has to comment how the environment is. So all these aspects, कभी कभी हम लोग देखते हैं विजिट रिपोर्ट 4 लाइन का होता है. I have visited this factory is running well, and I met accountant. He never goes to shop floor. He just go there, take a cup of tea and come back. So ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. So you have to, if you found any anomaly or incomplete visit report, make sure that your point captures it. If visit report is not satisfactory, then these are all safeguards which I am telling you on the basis of practical experiences. So or visit report may not made available on that particular day. So ये सब चीज़ें, these are the very basic point. Probably you will feel कि these are very small point, but these small points will actually come as a savior while it comes to some kind of a investigation. So cognizance of the concurrent internal report, which we already talked about. Now, which are the red flags? So which we have to look into. So non-receipt or receipt of application from the necessary or form and the necessary documents. Some of the places I have seen the promissory note itself is not signed. The loan documents are blank. So वो बोलता है this person is banking with me for last 10 years, so I will get it signed in front of you. I will ask that person, make him sign in front of you. ऐसा कुछ मत करो. If you are seeing that particular thing, immediately report it that on the date of verification, this promissory note was blank. Okay, you don't know who are coming to you, who you don't know. You are there only for 10 to 12 days. You can't expect anything. वो अपना committed client है, नहीं है. So first of all, you have to do that particular diligence check. Then credit report on the principal borrowers and confidential report from existing bank is not obtained. Specifically in takeover loans, this happens. So credit report and the CR report we called it. From a principal borrower where the particular borrower is having multiple banking facilities, that particular report is not made available. So the assessment of that particular borrower, the credit worthiness of that particular borrower, the repayment capacity of that particular borrower, actual cash flows of that particular borrower, his take home right now, if I say so, for salaried employees, is not known to us. And that will only come when you get that particular CR, that particular confidential report, that particular information from your principal borrower. So if that is not there, it means this account is to be seen. So all these are red flags kind of a thing. Then non-giving weightage to wide gap between projections as per credit sanction and actual performance. So sometimes it may so happen that you get that particular projection for the credit appraisal, 5 years projections have been made. It's just an Excel gimmick. And actual, when you see the actual balance sheet, by the time you go there, probably 1 year has been passed, and you have now actual balance sheet versus the credit appraisal, the projections. If there is a wide gap, please ask those questions. Whether that MPBF formula now fits in. MPBF is maximum permissible bank finance. Whether that particular formula fits in. Whether we are over-giving that particular loan, we are already having exposure which should not have been. So all these questions you need to ask with the branch management. If you don't get a satisfactory answer, please report in that particular credit appraisal point that okay, these are the cases wherein the branch balance sheet, the borrower's balance sheet as well as the projection having 20% variation, 50% variation. So all the, you have done your duty. So that is something which you have to do it. Then inappropriate working capital assessments, we already talked about. Cases wherein mismatch of liabilities between ROC search report and borrower's annual report. This is very important. When you are seeing a branch or the particular borrower's annual report, please see ROC search versus it. So all these cases are mentioned in our 2015 RBI's EWS circular. So these are the red flags which you have to cover. You can't say कि मुझे मालूम नहीं था ये circular ऐसा है. So ignorance is not the bliss here. So you have to have these checks. And these checks you have to perform, otherwise nobody will listen to you at the time of investigation, and people will always say that you have not performed your duties. So if you are done on a sampling basis, at least these processes, so these processes have been carried out, and on the basis of that process I have giving my opinion. So this will be a savior for that particular investigation. So read by regulatory authorities, this is very important red flag. if there is a raid, then you have to be extra cautious while sanctioning whether the money which is given by the branch is safe. That we have to see, because most of the time the raid comes with income tax raid or sales tax raid comes with kind of attachment. They found out some bogus billing or certain live examples are there. You have to have a Panchanama report in your record. You have to perform your duties on that particular part and give your opinion. Okay, as per this is a red flag, but still the borrower is regularly repaying the EMIs and principal amount. The last one is not obtaining collateral security in spite of weak financials. So this is very important, especially in cases of small loan accounts. This might be a problem that they didn't have a collateral security, didn't have a guarantees as well. So these you have to report in your LFAR. Now we will move on to the understanding and disbursement. So verification of a DOA, delegation of authorities, which is very important. You should have an organization structure. A particular branch might be headed by AGM, particular branch might be headed by DGM, as we already heard. Some of the very large branch are headed by GM as well. So understanding a delegation of authority and whether that particular delegation of authority matrix have been actually been utilized for sanctioning the loan. So that has to be seen on the selected sample. Verification of system, preventive detective control. So deviation matrix has to be there. So for any kind of most of the thing now, at least for retail, I can see in some of the branches there is a LOM and LOS system, loan origination system, loan monitoring system. I'm just putting a short form as well as long form, because if you go there in the branch and a person or branch manager, if he start using short forms and you don't know the long form, probably he will understood from 10-15 minutes कि अरे ये बंदा आपने काम का है, चलो इसको खत्म करते हैं, इसको निपटा देते हैं. So that is why I'm just purposefully mentioning the short form as well as long form. So on the loan origination system and loan monitoring system, LMS and LOS, there is a clear deviation matrix which is there. So you make use of that audit trail, write in your report, take a cognizance of that particular point also. Verification of the end use, we already talked about LAP. LAP has a repayment problem as well as I can see the end use, where that particular money is going. Why he has not come out with the cash rate. If he is having a working capital, if he is having a debtors, stocks, insurance, everything is there, why he is going for a LAP route which is otherwise expensive for him. So you just have to inquire with that particular branch manager. Then verification of a DP calculation on the basis of stock and book debt settlement, whether with the sanction as mentioned in the appraisal. So this is very important. Most of the time what we feel, there are some practical examples where 90 days and above debtors have been considered, although the RBI circular clearly mentioned that the sundry debtors has to be taken only for 90 days and below. So all those have been considered. Slow moving stock, non-moving stock has been considered. So here I am not asking you to go and take a deep dive. You have a concurrent audit report, internal audit report for your use. Take those points and elaborate and vouch. So all this has to be there in his concurrent audit or internal audit report. If it is not there, then probably you have to do your own test. But most of the time, these comments are typical comments which are coming through concurrent audit report. So make use of that concurrent audit report systems. Then verification of a disbursement docket, very important docket, because it gives a certain kind of a condition precedence. When I am saying condition precedent, that means regulatory the authority who has sanctioned that loan probably has given certain condition precedent before disbursement of the loan or before sanctioning. So now it's our duty as a part of our audit to check, okay, those conditions have been fulfilled before disbursement or not fulfilled. So that particular disbursement docket is very, very important for us to verify. Now what are the red flags under sanctioning disbursement? Interchangeability clause, fund based and non-fund based. And interchangeability clause, when I am saying interchangeability clause after some time. So for example, while sanctioning the loan, a fund based limit has been given, CC limit has been given, let's say for 5 crores, non-fund based limit has been given, let's say for 2 crores. After 3 months, what we observe, there is a deviation which has been taken and the interchangeability clause has been allowed. So non-fund based can be utilized for fund, fund based can be utilized for non-fund. So this is one red flag which we immediately you have to see financials. Immediately you have to, it's a time to go and see the stock statement and data statement, because interchangeability is allowed. That means there is a high probability, I am not saying 100%, but there is a high probability that his working capital mismatch is there. Okay, so MPBF has not been correctly calculated, or there is a stretch operating cycle, or there is a working capital mismatch. So all these cases you have to see when there is a interchangeability. Then disbursement of the facilities before documentation and completion other centers. We already talked about it. Then these are the routine creation and registration of charge. You have to actually see the charge document. Then obtaining no lien or NOC from the existing holders, charge holders. So most of the time you have been given answer that is under process, and it will get completed, by end of 2-3 months or something like that. But that is not the case. Now the time has come to you go back and see the last year LFR, whether such kind of a report or such kind of a comment was already existing in that LFR. If that is the case, that means 1 year has already passed. You can also see whether such kind of a comments in other accounts are there. So a group account is there where the same condition is there. So that particular inference you have to draw to make a deep dive or deep discussion has to take place. So all these cases are red flags for you to go into much more details. So then disbursement made directly into current account or saving account. So this is a very dangerous. Most of the small frauds are happened through this particular mechanism, wherein home loan has been sanctioned and the entire sanction or vehicle loan has been sanctioned, and the loans are directly credited to borrower's current account. The mandate is generally 99 out of 100% cases. Mandate in a credit policy is such kind of a disbursement should directly happen to that builder or that particular dealer. So if that is not the case, immediately you should ask why this has happened. This is a red flag which you have to keep into your mind. Then late payment, late reporting of sanction of ad hoc limit, or ad hoc limits are given but not closed within the due date. I am just not giving you cases where the 90 days norm has been passed. So don't wait for the cases which are more than 90 days, those only we will report. That is not the case. So these are indicative signs or red flags. This is a process, I can say that particular borrower is in the process of becoming a NPA. So all these red flags you have to keep in your mind. So non-production of original bills for verification of upon request. So original bills मांगे है but दिए नहीं है, only Xerox have been provided. Immediately you should have an alert in your mind कि okay, why there is no original bills, whether he has taken finance from 2-3 sources. So that's something which is very, very important. Original bills should be in branch custody wherever the loan has been given, let's say for plant and machinery. So the plant and machinery original invoice has to be there in that custody. Hypothecation, charge documentation will take its own course, but at least original bills has to be in the branch custody. So all these are some of the small points but red flags which are very important for you to understand. Now I will come to post monitoring thing. So post monitoring, close monitoring of a system exception report. We are now talking on the monitoring of the advances which are already disbursed, and we have already tested. Remember few slides back I have said that these sanity of the exception report have been already tested. So now you are in the position to rely on those reports. Now the time has come at this stage to use that exception report for our benefit. So all those exception reports, whether it is a CCOD overdrawn report, stock settlement pending report, a review renewal pending report. So see, I know there is one more separate session for IRAC, but just to give a glimpse, basically a particular NPA can be, a particular account can be NPA because of two reasons, broad reasons. One, monetary, and second, non-monetary. So monetary conduct, okay, this can be monitored and there is a now matured system. But on non-monetary aspect, for example, stock settlement not filed, DCCO not achieved, these are something out of the monetary field which you have to be looking into, and that is why exception reports will come for your survive. That those reports will give an indication whether this particular borrower is already NPA, already SMA or not. So review of high risk rated accounts. So generally when a bank has to give a particular loan, the risk rating has been already framed. So this risk rating is used for credit rating agencies for their own risk premium, but it will give us also some kind of indication or some kind of a guidance to to see those accounts which are very important. Okay, so verification of quick mortality. Now this is a classic case. While taking a sanction disburse or taking a loan register, you have to also see which accounts are opened and closed during the year and which are account are having a quick mortality. If the quick mortality is there, immediately go and refer the credit policy, and what are the guidelines given in that credit policy needs to be adhered. So those policy parameters have to be checked for the quick mortality accounts. I hope quick mortality is everybody understood, or should I explain that? I think there is no time. Review of overall restructuring process. So again, restructuring is something, it's a different area, and probably we can have a 2-hour session also for that, but I am not touching that much on that. But overall restructuring process from identification. So who are the accounts, which are the accounts which can be treated as restructuring? Although you probably, they will not call for restructuring, but by doing some kind of arrangement, they are directly coming under restructuring category. So identification, whether it is system based or whether it is a manual. So right from restructuring, then what is the classification? For example, MSME, non-MSME. MSME is still enjoying some kind of a benefits because of the COVID, while they are doing on a restructuring basis without downgrading them. Otherwise, all accounts are needs to be downgraded immediately after their restructuring. So all those identification, classification, and upgradation. So for upgradation also there are specific circulars. So specified performance, specified period, all these cases have been defined. Right now, today there is no time to explain that particular thing, and probably in 2 days session somewhere it will get covered. But all these has to be reviewed. Then monitoring of DCCO we already talked about. DCCO, by the way, is date of commencement of commercial operation. For project loan, this is very important date, by which if you pass that particular date with a particular number of days, the account is directly treated as restructured. So you have to be very mindful when you see a DCCO date. Now, if you remember going to the exception reports and all, I had talked about that a few minutes back. In that particular field, when you are asking for a loan register, please see whether the DCCO column is there in an Excel sheet. If that is there, please have a snapshot, or so please filter it and carve out for the separate monitoring. So all these are small tips which I am giving you for DCCO. Then the development of EWS mechanism. So all the big branches have already started implementing EWS mechanism and alerts. So again, go back to MIS report. In MIS, if you have some kind of this particular case where the EWS has been triggered and the MIS in that particular branch in a particular month has been already captured those particular account, that account has to be monitored, or that account has to be audited by you in your audit program. Now coming to red flags under post monitoring, how much time we have? Already, otherwise I will 10 minutes? Okay. So I will just read, I think it's a busy slide, you can read afterwards also, but I will just give a passing remark. So no scrutiny, no recovery of non-recovery of a stock, book debt statement, QIS, FS, under over insured. So under insurance is one very red flag, wherein you find something is under insured. That means you have every reason or every condition to believe that this particular stock is probably not available or it is not in the condition to be used. So you have every reason to believe if it is heavily underinsured. Okay, some deviation 5-10% can be acceptable. If it is less than 50% of the stock value which otherwise you are using for your DP statement, it is very important to you to see and check the stock audit report. So these are the indicators. Then book debt statement, inventory not considered property for calculation of drawing power. Double finance has been used. So why I am saying double finance? Creditors are not reduced from inventory. So unpaid stock has not been considered, only all the stock has been considered. Or there are two facilities. One is working capital facility, another is bill discounting or book debt finance facility, wherein for both you are submitting the same stock statement or the same book debt statement. So debtors have been considered twice for the finance. So it can be treated as a double financing. So that you have to ensure. Then significant deviation in the stock statement, we already talked about it. significant amount of transaction with related parties. This is very, very important because some of the very big frauds and even the minor frauds are happen to rerouting of this particular transaction through related parties. So how you will identify those related parties? You have to make good use of a balance sheet, probably IGAP balance sheet, AS18, Indes 24. There are already disclosures on the related party transaction. Please see the sale purchase of the those transaction or the transaction which are disclosed in the balance sheet and try to correlate the transaction with your particular account. So all this is very, very important. At the same time, it is Excel which will be useful for you to correlate those particular parameters. So for example, a particular subsidiary is shown and the sale is only, let's say, 10 lakh rupees to that particular subsidiary. But if I say here the money has been coming in that particular account, that too maybe at 88th day or 90th day for in a crores of rupees, there is a significant reason to believe that there are something which is going on which is not required or it should not have been. So that is something which we have to talk about related parties. Credit submission, again, capturing of credit submission is very important. Right now, if you see, there is a IRAX session as well, but credit submission we have to also see whether the reversal are also getting tracked in that submission, because some of the credit the norm is the credit has to be sufficient for the debit. So if that credit is also counting some of the reversal of the entries, it should not have been. So there is you have to again go back and check the sanity of the exception reports which I already talked about. So all this I am just going back again for you to understand why that particular exercise, the first exercise, is important. Then transfer entries from one facility to other. This is a common phenomena. I did not explain. Frequent TODs. Frequent TODs and ad hoc limits have been sanctioned. That means either his operating cycle is stretched or the MPBF assessment itself is not correct. So you have to judge what is the real situation and then accordingly comment upon. So non-charging of penal interest for late submission. A particular account is anchor client. ये term branch manager हमेशा use करता है कि अरे this account is very good, अभी वो क्या कोरोना के वजह से इसको ये हो गया, but otherwise is anchor client for my branch, and that is why all deviations are conferred on him. So be careful on that particular front, and you have to use your judgment while reporting about that particular account. So regulation of the account of by the credits near to due date. This is most common phenomena to save that particular account for NPA. Sometimes we have also observed that branch manager itself is doing some I can say practical pragmatic view. This is also a name which they called it. So you have to be very careful all those accounts. So all those accounts can be tracked from your SMA 012. So all SMA 012 for quarterly can be tracked, and then you can see why these are not NPA, because these are probable NPAs otherwise, and at the 31st March why these are not NPAs, that you have to cross check. I will skip this slide. So I will just touch upon the red flags in financial statement. So now, as I mentioned, the financial statement of a particular borrower, if it is a company, and Schedule 3 amendments give a powerful insight on what to see and how to see and how to how the particular borrower is behaving. So all these are the actually indicators which give us a ready-made points, I can say. So the branch auditor can rely on the borrower's auditor financial statement, audit report as well as financial statement. So these are very, very important point. So for example, neglecting impact due to revaluation asset. So all revaluation of asset is there, but at the time of credit appraisal or credit monitoring or review, this particular aspect has been neglected. Loans availed against the assets acquired through grants. So this is very important. A typical case wherein the grant is received, a government or a particular body has been conferred a particular asset to a grant, and that particular asset has been used by doing a valuation and taking a loan against it. So all these are red flags. I am not saying these are necessary to be NPA or fraudulent cases, but you have to be watchful while dealing with such kind of cases. Loan received against investment properties. So India's framework, investment property has to be separately disclosed. So investment property means the borrower himself is telling you, okay, this is not my operational property, this is only for rental and escalation purpose. So while utilizing those investment property valuation for your calculation is something which you have to be careful about. Then reduction in stake of promoter, this is again an indication. Significant increase in loans to related parties, we already talked about it. Considerable increase in corporate guarantees. So corporate guarantees given to related parties. This is something which is very, very important for us to understand as a branch auditor, whether that particular group is behaving in a correct, I can say, legitimate way. Giving a corporate guarantee in a big way, that means there is some kind of, I can say, negative currents going on in that particular subsidiary or something like that. Not all the cases, but the frequency and the amount I am talking about. Then ignorance of a disclosure pertaining to operating segment. Again, operating segment have been used in DES 108 or AS 17. Make use of that note, whether that particular segment on which you have finance, whether it is already negative, although because of the one exception event or one-time event, if it is going to profit, don't believe on that profitability, because that profit is not going to be a sustained profit for making assessment of that particular borrower. So all these will come through operating segment analysis. Then ignorance of, non-consideration of one-time effect, I already talked about, and significant increase in claims not acknowledged as date. So here we as a branch auditor have very, very limited time, and we have to quickly run through the balance sheets which are provided to us in by the borrower. So if there is a significant increase in contingent liability which is not appropriately explained, you just have to mention that particular fact in your noting and the LFR. So red flags in audit reports, obviously qualifications and emphasis of matter we have to mandatorily check. If there is a qualification and the impact is given, if there is a emphasis, so believe me, some of the cases auditors are actually drawing attention for the banks only, that okay, please look into this particular aspect, please look into this claim acknowledgement of date, please look into this particular exception item, please look into this as an extraordinary item. So if as a banker and if as a bank auditor I only ignored it, so nobody can save. So these particular amendments and the system changes have been made for guiding bankers, and obviously after that we as an auditor. So the qualifications and EOM has to be carefully read, and the impact has to be carefully drafted. Then negative comments of the internal financial control, this is again a very important thing. Although the main report is okay report or non-modified, unmodified report, however ICFR report, if it is modified, if it is qualificatory, then we have to actually question on the stock statement, actually question on the operating cycle. There can be various pointers on that. Then significant discrepancies in physical verification of fixed asset and inventory. So there are particular clear clauses in CARO which directly gives you an indication that okay, whether there is a discrepancies in FA. If there is a significant discrepancy in FA or inventory, and as a bank, the bank has been given exposure on that particular basis, so you have to see whether my particular advance is secured or unsecured. So that you have to comment upon. Then deviation from the quarterly statement, again the CARO report has clear clause asking this particular statement in yes or no format, and the deviation has to be also reported. If that deviation is there, then you have to question the integrity of the stock audit, stock reports, as well as the DP statement which they otherwise submit to us. So on that basis you have to make up your mind in reporting that particular account. In some of the cases last year I have seen, on the basis of this particular CARO report, some of the accounts have been marked as a NPA. Because all throughout all quarters the stock statement submitted by borrower and stock statement the comment made by that particular auditor was not matching. In short, bank has come to a conclusion that okay, this particular stock levels are actually not supporting and there is no security, and that is why the account has been straightaway classified into doubtful. So all this I am giving examples. Then delays in deposit in undisputed statutory dues, you are knowing that particular thing. Significant dispute in statutory dues. So escalation after normalization. So I can say 10%, 15%, but there is a significant increase suddenly in that particular year for a particular case. This is again a red flag. Then default in repayment of any loan, short-term fund. There is a clear statement. Because as a branch auditor, probably you are not having that information that particular borrower is having multiple loans or not, and what is the status. Probably you might be having, okay, this particular borrower is having facilities in 3 locations, but you will not be able to know what is the conduct. So this report, Caro report, will give you insight on the overall conduct of the account. Then default in repayment of any loans I talked about. Reported frauds during the year. If it is reported directly, you have to take a cognizance of it. So negative remarks regarding the internal audit system. So this is something very important in the borrower's account I am talking about. Borrower incurring cash losses, we have to see. Impact on adverse financial ratios. So the ratios are ready-made available. Right now, if you are doing a credit monitoring, credit review, and there is a significant deviation, the ratios calculated by the branch management and ratios otherwise are reported by the borrower, you have to ask for explanation. If the explanation is not satisfactory, you have to report in NFR. So comment on the going concern, obviously if the negative comment is there, probably you have to immediately pass an MOC itself. So the adverse remark as per the cost audit report. So this is very important as far as if you are having a working capital limit and there is a negative remark in cost audit report, that means the cost valuation, the valuation of the inventory can be questioned. So all these are red flags, all these are pointers which are specifically meant for the branch. And again, if branch is not effectively taking a cognizance of it, it is our duty to take and escalate that particular thing and ask for or immediately explain or pass an MOC, whatever appropriate action. So these are ready-made red flags pointers which are available in the borrower's balance sheet. So with this, I would like to thank Pune office bearer as well as Chandrasekhar Chitale sir for giving me this opportunity. I hope I was a little fast because I was behind the schedule. If you have any queries, I am there for the lunch. You can pose me any queries, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nachiket sir. The advances is one of the important, I will say most important part of the bank branch audit, and you have covered it very well, including all the red flags and everything. So on behalf of Pune branch, I again thank you for accepting and coming for today's seminar. Thank you, sir. We will now proceed with lunch. It's at the canteen area.